Hey, welcome back to another whole class where we're working with special math. Over here, we believe in diversity, so I'm not going to tell you who's counting down, but just know we represent diversity over here today. We have a unique class tonight. Tonight is a class I've never taught before. I'm going to give you guys a promise tonight. Tonight's class, if you make it to the whole class, I will improve your decision making and your problem solving skills. Promise you. Absolutely promise you. This class is highly influenced by what we do for work at 510 Media. So 510 Media we focus on solving more problems than creating artistic expressions. And so a lot of the tools that we use, as well as a lot of tools that are in the materials, will be taught in this class. So this class, by far, is going to be a strong problem-solving class. Before I get started, I just want to say something real quick. Those of you online, those of you at home, I'm going to start the class off with a little bit of weight, put a little bit of weight on our shoulders. But we're entrepreneurs, so you put weight on our shoulders, and somehow we produce solutions. The other day I was listening to Biden, and I don't listen to political speeches very much because it's just a lot of entertainment, and I don't enjoy political entertainment. But anyway, I just heard this one little clip from Biden. I was sitting on a couch, and Biden had mentioned that the number one cause of young people deaths in the United States was gun violence. Now, that's been rumored for a long time, but it's never been true, right? And so I was like, wait a minute, that can't be possibly true when he said that. So, of course, what do you do? You look it up. And kind of find out that the number one cause of deaths in the United States for young people is really gun violence.
Was gun violence.
But here's a part that, so of course, after I figured that information out, I decided to go a little bit further and dig a little bit deeper into the data. And the group that represented 40%, the highest percentage, was African Americans. The second group was Caucasian Americans. But here's the thing about Caucasian Americans. Most of their gun violence was suicide, killing themselves. Us was homicide, killing each other. Now, I don't know if y'all know this is how serious this is. Once again, this is data from, I think, 1920 and 1921. In 2020, 2021, that the number one cause of death amongst young people was gun violence. Black youth are actually the number one cause of black youth in that number, which they represent the highest percentage, even though they only represent 18% of society, is homicide, killing each other with guns. Yet we're not going to challenge our culture yet, huh? We're not going to challenge our music. We're not going to challenge anything yet, huh? We're not going to focus on tonight I'm going to, once again, tonight's a unique class because I'm going to teach something I've never taught before. And I can promise you by the end of the class, you will improve your decision making and your problem solving skills. I promise you that. This is not a soft promise. This is a strong promise. But there's going to be a point in this lesson I'm going to come back to thinking about these type of things and how do we solve these problems. So let's get this class started because I don't really want to jump into this, but I'm going to jump back in. I'm going to come back to this, but something just to chew on in your mind, that our youth are killing each other at such a high-ass rate that they're not dying from accidents or, car accidents or driving drunk. Something that just says, okay, damn, they're killing each other. They're literally killing each other. So it's not just entertainment anymore. This shit is real. So anyway, this is what I need you to do. Take 2 minutes, exactly 2 minutes. Think about whatever problem you faced this week or within the last 2 months, a serious problem, like a business problem, a leadership problem, a job problem. I need you guys write down or write in your cell phones what that problem was, right? A serious, you might not even solved it yet. But I want you to just kind of wrap your mind around a problem that you addressed in the last 2 months. So just take 2 minutes. Those of you at home, same thing. Just take 2 minutes and write down a problem that you had to deal with in the last 2 months. So it could be business, leadership. It has to be a leadership type problem. I don't want to hear a problem like I had a problem eating watermelon. Please don't do that. Don't do that. being that Josiah lost weight, I can't point Josiah no more, but for that future Josiah, no. But just think of something that you was working on, a challenge, something you was building, something you was creating, something where you was leading, organizational problem, business problem, customer problem, client problem, family leadership problem, organization leadership problem, but right now, at least a solid problem. And if you haven't solved it, even better. I want you to think, the last 30 seconds, think about your solution, how you solved it or how you thinking you're going to solve it. It's kind of like frame that in your mind. I would just want to be at the top of your mind. So bring it to the top of your mind, how you're going to solve that problem or how you solve that problem. Josh, get our slides ready. Thank you, sir. Do your thing, Josh. Yeah. Do not do it, Josh. Stop. All right. Okay. Keep that problem on the top of mind as we go through this class. I want you to see if your solution shifts and you start to think about your problem differently. Okay? Okay, so Shabisha, you're on team reading. If you need our backup, Shakina backup for you at some point, just let us know because you two do a wonderful job at reading. So, you ready? This is gonna be an intense one. So I'm gonna try this first part. We're gonna move a little fast. Now, we'll start off with talking about mistakes, and this is gonna move kind of quick because I want to challenge some things. Now, if something doesn't register with you, please raise your hand and summarize the question. Not the long stories, not the full introduction. I don't want to hear about grandma. I want to hear a straight summary of where the distortion is happening. So I'm gonna move fast at first so we can get to the next stage. I can slow it down and really dive into enhancing your problem solving skills. Okay? I promise you, the stuff I'm gonna teach here, you probably never heard before. Some of the stuff you're like, I never really analyzed it. Because a lot of times we think problem, solution, and realize there's a whole bunch of stuff in between there. A whole bunch of decisions have to be made in between there. And if you don't master that process, then your outcome, your life is your life for a reason. Your life is your life for a reason. So if you say to yourself, man, I've been broke for the last 10 years, your life is your life for a reason. If you say my business hasn't grown like I expected, your life is your life for a reason. So it's not like there's no gods out there hold you back. There's no little small devils. There's no ghosts. There's nothing like that stuff. It's your life is your life for a reason. So ready, Shabisha? Mm-hmm. Let's do this.
How to handle mistakes. When things don't work out the way we'd like, most of us default to blaming the world rather than ourselves.
So we heard that before, right? Everybody remember we talked about radical responsibility. So when things don't work out for you, most of us resort to blaming the world instead of ourselves. Keep going.
This is a form of what psychologists call self-serving bias,
Mm-hmm.
a tendency to evaluate things in ways that protect or enhance our self-image.
By the way, one of the reasons it's hard for many of you guys to handle radical responsibility because you feel like it's an attack upon your personal image, right? So it's easier for you to redirect blame because often blame chips away at the conversation of you telling yourself you're not good enough. So if you don't feel like you're good enough, and then somebody says, I want to blame you, you need to blame yourself or take responsibility. Your brain turns it into self-blame, and it's a personal attack. So self-serving biases is when you're going through something, you have a tendency to focus on the outside. Now keep going. Now watch, this next phrase is the most important because this is a hack to catch yourself. Go.
When people succeed at something, they tend to attribute their success to their own ability or effort. I'm really smart. I worked really hard. I knew all the angles. By contrast, when
Pause real quick. Self-help culture, when people make money, if you pay attention to all these black people making money right now, they are the kings and queens that talk about how they were so smart and how they avoided all the angles. Most of the people who sold college to us, who when they brought somebody back from college, they positioned them to sell that same story to us that they're so successful because why? They made all the what? They were really smart. They worked really hard. They knew all the angles, right? This is what we sold all the time, correct? This is what you've heard all your whole life is the reason some people are successful because they work really hard, they're really smart, and they know all the angles. But go ahead.
By contrast, when people fail at something,
This is important.
they tend to attribute their failure to external factors. My boss doesn't like me. The test was unfair.
Pause. Pay attention to this contrast. And this is important because you'll hear yourself when you do it. When you're doing really, really well, you want to talk about you. But when you're failing, you want to talk about them. You see that? You see that? The game you just that should tell you the game you're playing on yourself. Because you don't talk about them when you're doing really, really well. You don't say, look, I'm really, really successful because Yapa Sue helped me out, Kaja came through, should taught me something. You don't do that. You say, I. You read books like this all the time, right? Mm-hmm. Social justice people talk like this. Social justice people will say, I achieved this, I'm doing this, I'm really proud of myself. But when it's time to talk about your failure, I'm oppressed. The world's attacking me. Somebody's taking something from me. They don't like me. They're hating on me. Do you see the difference? This is and this is how you can hear yourself say it. So when you go through something next time, watch who you blame. Do you blame first or do you examine first? Do you blame or do you examine? And because pay attention to when you're celebrating. Are you celebrating blaming or are you celebrating from examining? Examining yourself going, I'm successful because I really doubled down. I gave up this. I sacrificed this. I made these things work. And then when things happen, you go, I failed because or did you go, I failed because, see, at the end of the day, they didn't, and then if I would have knew, and these, you see what happens? Mm-hmm. So this is important because if you don't get this part right, when we get to the third or fourth level, it's going to be really confusing. Next slide.
If you got some results you didn't want, the world is telling you at least one of two things. You were unlucky, or your ideas about how things work were wrong. If you were unlucky, trying again with the same approach should lead to a different outcome. When you repeatedly don't get the outcomes you want, though, the world is telling you to update your understanding.
Okay. Here's a simple concept, because these are simple concepts, and write these things down. If you try something numerous times, you don't get the results you want, at this point, you're projecting on the world, you're not accepting what the world's trying to tell you. The world's giving you a message. So if you're working hard every day, and you look at your bank account, and it hasn't grown, the world's telling you, do something different. It's almost the simplest math in the world. But quite often, it's really easy to continue to blame. As you're blaming external, you're not hearing the messaging coming from the reality that you exist in. But if you pay attention to, like I did the same thing 10 times, and I never got results, something's wrong with my practice. Remember I told you the old story that when I was absolutely broke, and I was super, super broke, and my brother tried to give me some money, and I told him, don't give me money. He said, why? I said, because if you give me money, I'm going to lose the lesson of what the world's trying to tell me, and I'll be back here again. I don't want to come back here again. So my poverty was tied to my actions, not racism, competition, black people hating on me, don't like my products, none of that stuff. It was all on me. Keep going.
If you want to see whether your thinking is wrong, you need to make it visible.
Okay, so that's important. If you want to see if your thinking is wrong, you got to make it visible. Because in your head, things are so distorted. I think Shabisha was telling me like she had a challenge and she wrote something down. And she came back and looked at the next day and she's like, that's it right there. Mm-hmm. By making your thoughts visible, you can solve problems. So a lot of times when you're facing problems, write your problems down. Write your problems and even write what you think the solution is. This is the beginning. It's going to get way deeper than this, but this is the foundation. Write your problems and what you think the solution is. Keep going.
Making what was previously invisible visible gives us the best chance of seeing what we knew and what we thought at the time we made a decision. Mm-hmm. Relying on memory won't work because the ego distorts information to make us look better than we actually were.
So, okay. So what they're implying is that after time you just start to develop a decision-making journal, okay? You start seeing how you're making decisions. You start seeing what's driving you. You start seeing patterns. But if you try to rely upon your memory, remember the press secretary? Remember the part of your brain that will lie to you so you can lie to other people, so you can belong to the group? Your ego and your press secretary will collaborate to make sure when the problem's over, it's going to change the story. You ever got in an argument with somebody and they keep moving the goalposts as they get more and more emotional? Your brain does it all the damn time. So just know, if you just keep looking at your problems to memory, somehow you're going to always be the hero in your memory. Just know that, right? As opposed to, I'm not just always late. Damn. Or I just never communicate. Damn. You'll never see that in your head. And God forbid you go to your ego friends. Meaning a lot of your friends are designed to stimulate your ego, not to challenge your ego. Very rarely do people design friends who will say, that ain't what you did, bro. That's something you have to design. Okay, keep going.
Once you realize that it's time to update your ideas, though, changing what you believe about the world requires a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. So once you realize you have to think different, it ain't easy. When you sit in this class, you're like, damn, now I know how to need to think. I know how to see this stuff. But it ain't easy. We'll get into that for 1 second. Keep going.
So people tend to ignore what the world is trying to tell them. They keep doing what they've always done and keep getting the same results. That's the inertia default at work.
So, inertia. I mean, let's say you sit in this class, you learn all this new information about how to solve your problems, but the more you get back to work and shit's going crazy, and you go back to windmilling. You did all those martial art classes, but now the pressure's on you, or you become exhausted by trying to do the right thing about 3 steps in, and by 5th step in, you're back to the same routine you had the week before. So now, when you give advice, you sound like a fucking scholar. But when it comes time to watch you perform, it's like, that's the same shit you was doing 10 years ago. It's nothing different. Yet you think you are in alignment for a different lifestyle because you see differently, but because of inertia, your patterns are still the same. And it's a war that's happening inside your head, so no one even knows. Because when you're around people, you could talk so well, everybody's like, oh my God, damn, how did you know all this stuff? My God. After you finish the conversation, you jump in your Volkswagen Bug that's barely running right and take off. Okay, so next slide. Shabisha?
The biggest mistake people make typically isn't their initial mistake.
This is so important. Go ahead.
It's the mistake of trying to cover up and avoid responsibility for it. The first mistake is expensive. The second one costs a fortune.
Okay. Let me guys help you out. Remember when you were younger and you would get whooped for a mistake or punished for a mistake or shamed for a mistake? Anybody remember that? Okay. When you're running your business, you're going to make mistakes. You can't avoid it. But when you make mistakes, you know what your default's going to be? To hide it, to tuck and run. You know why it's dangerous? Because sometimes the mistakes is the greatest opportunity ever. So I'm going to give you guys transparency how you handle it. Create time to accept the mistake. Have the mistake, but do not call people right away. Process it and calm your emotions down and look for 2 or 3 possible solutions. In addition, see if you can turn it into an opportunity. I'm saying, I know it ain't gonna feel like when the mistake first happened, you're gonna have a flashback when your mother punished you, whatever, or something went really, really bad. You're gonna go to your default response, like, oh shit, mistake. And then you're gonna kind of tuck in and gonna go inward, and the whole world's gonna become like, you won't be able to see any of your thoughts, your ideas. It's almost gonna be like you feeling bad and you comforting yourself. You can't think forward. So then your next desire is to either like become binary, which is, I'm gonna tell on myself, or I'm gonna lie and hide it. Both of those are not enough. In business, neither one of those are always the right way. Sometimes that might be the case, but most of the time it's not. You have to create emotional space to say, I'm going to feel this feeling. I'm about to go through this right now because I did make a mistake. All right, go for a long walk and process the mistake. Let your brain calm down, and then solutions will be revealed to you. This is important because trust me, if you continue to respond to your mistakes, you're not making decisions right now. You're reacting. And because you're reacting, you're getting the same result over and over and over and over again, right? Also, when a mistake first happens in business, which we'll get further into this in a second, it's a low cost. No matter what, even if it's expensive, it's a low cost as opposed to hiding the mistake and then to come back upon you the second time is extremely expensive. Extremely expensive. Summarize question, go ahead.
Taking notes, can't keep up. You said, so when you react, you're not making a decision, you're doing what?
So if when you're just being reactionary, which we'll get into in 1 second, you're not making a decision. I'm gonna get into what you're doing in a second, but you're not making a decision. So it's important that when you have that emotional space, it's so overwhelming because of the way we were raised that if you just continue to respond to that, you will end up sabotaging all your progress. So everything you worked on, you're going to sabotage it because you're in a bad emotional space. So create space. Space. It's almost going to seem, to some people, it's going to seem insensitive. But create space when you make a mistake. Process it and come back with a better solution, which we'll get into in a second. Okay, go ahead.
There are 3 problems with covering up mistakes. The first is that you can't learn if you ignore your mistakes.
So number one, all mistakes are designed to do what? Teach you. All mistakes are designed to teach you something. My daughter makes mistakes all the time, and we go, it's just a mistake. What do we learn from this? It's just a mistake. What do we learn from this? So I talk to her all the time. It's just a mistake. What do you learn from this? Right? You got to get into that mode. That's the mode. That's how I move. Because you're going to make mistakes continuously. There ain't no such thing as a mistake here and there. Every day, almost every week, every month, every year, you're making mistakes. There's no such thing as a mistake-free person. That makes you, if you even think that's a thing, that's a psychological problem. It's called perfectionism. Right? You're going to make hella mistakes. So if you're going to make hella mistakes, then how do you move in that space so you don't end up sabotaging everything you ever worked on? So the first thing is that when you ignore the mistake, you remain a fool. Process your mistakes. This is what makes you wiser. This makes your business run stronger. When you first start your business, you're gonna make hella mistakes. But if you process all those mistakes, you're gonna accelerate your growth. Next one.
The second is that hiding them becomes a habit.
Mm-hmm.
The third is that the cover-up makes a bad situation worse.
Keep going.
However, mistakes also provide rare opportunities for getting closer to the kind of person you want to be, should you choose to heed their lessons.
When you admit your mistakes and you take the lessons from mistakes and you really dive into the lesson from mistakes, you become the person you want to become. When you hide from those mistakes, you'll become something you're ashamed of. You'll walk around with self-shame because you know you ain't right. You have a hard time developing true integrity, true commitment. You won't walk with the same level. Your confidence is going to will deteriorate. You won't be able to look at people in the eyes the same kind of way, because you know, as you avoid your mistakes, it becomes a closet full of bones. It's like you're filling the closet up every time you run from your mistakes. Process them, and don't process it like you should. Don't start off with I should have not done this. Say, damn, what can I learn from this? Don't play the shame game. What do I learn from my mistake? Sometimes, some mistakes may seem weird to everybody else. It's an opportunity for you, right? Next slide.
If you've taken command of your life, you need to acknowledge any contribution you've made to a mistake and take responsibility for what happens afterward.
This is so important because we get to problem solving. If you don't learn how to see the mistake and take full responsibility, and don't try to share the mistake. No, the episode we was working together today, I made a mistake, but you also did. Don't share the shit around, right? Take ownership and then stop. Because when you share it, it doesn't benefit you. All you're trying to do is take care of your self-serving bias. Your ego saying, hey man, you don't want to be the only person looking bad right now. So say they too. This is why sometimes when somebody's checking you, it's hard for you to be checked because you want them to feel what you feel. It's not a such thing. If you damage my products in my house, and I say, yo, you broke my stuff, you can't say, well, shoot, your floor need to be fixed. What the fuck, dog? You're like, but there's people like that. Like every time you show them their mistakes, they deflect to, what about your mistakes? No, don't do that. That in itself is, once again, you're not learning. You're letting your ego have dialogue with people, not learn, evolve, and grow. Keep going.
Even if the mistake isn't entirely your fault, it's still your problem.
Okay, that's the key point there. Remember we said, radical responsibility, it may not be your fault, but it's your problem. Take the worst thing that can happen to you. And say somebody victimized you, but it's still your problem. Always remember that. Like, when I see, one thing I notice sometimes when I watch social justice is they put a weak figure on the camera and they talk about racism as if that's going to fix their problems. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, but racism exists, but it's your problem. Don't try to give the problem back to white people. He don't give a shit. He going to the movies tonight. That's your motherfucking problem. If you give it to him, he's going to neglect the hell out of your problem. So the only way that problem will truly be solved is you got to say, racism is my problem and it's my responsibility, which means what happens then? Solutions begin. One of the reasons that a lot of our problems are not solved because we're not taking ownership of the problem. We want to point and say all these mistakes are caused by these different systems when all these problems, and when you run your own company, your employee goes out and does a donut, hits a Mercedes-Benz, and the Mercedes-Benz happens to be one of your top clients. Mm. And you say, that dumbass employee, excuse me, son, it's your problem though. Because that employee about to leave and go home. Like, I need you guys to understand that, right? Or somebody mixes a product incorrectly and a woman uses it in her hair and her hair falls out. I get it, but that's your problem. Once you understand that, even though you didn't make the mistake, it's your problem. Because when the courts sue, you ain't got that much you can sue that person for. But what they can sue you for, it's your problem. And if your brand goes away, let's just say you knock that person out because you're just so low level that you go to the lowest level behavior, you hit the person in the jaw. Now you got two problems. One, you're about to lose your company, and two, you're about to go to jail. My damn, I be damn. You created two problems from zero. You can see where I'm going with this? Okay, keep going.
You still have a role to play in handling it.
Yep.
Take time to reflect on what you contributed to the mistake by exploring the various thoughts, feelings, and actions that got you here.
So, when you make a mistake, investigate yourself. Don't resolve to a simple answer. Go, what are all the ways I contributed to this? And everything that happens to you, always start with the self-investigation. Because, okay, martial arts automatically assume that they're going to be attacked, right? That's what martial arts do. They will always assume they're going to be attacked. So what do they train for? They train that someday, even though they walk down the street and there's a 99% chance nobody's going to ever attack them. But they always train for that 0.1% chance as a possibility, right? So their brains, so when they're training is a natural investigation that how can I protect myself in case a stranger or something comes at me? I have no idea. So one of the ways you get there is by every time you have a problem in your life, don't let your brain take off on, I can't stand Shabisha. I can't stand Yapasua. I can't stand, I can't stand Josh. But that's not the point, right? But you don't let your brain take off in those spaces. What you start with is stop that part of your brain from going crazy and going, what did I have to do with this at all times? Keep going.
If it's an emergency and you don't have time to reflect at the moment, be sure to come back to it. If you don't identify the problem's causes, after all, you can't fix them. And if you can't fix them, you can't do better in the future. Instead, you'll be doomed to repeat the same mistake over and over.
I can promise you right now, when you watch a lot of organizations, this is the number one problem. They focus on bad customers, this, competition, this, the government, this, all these little blames there, and they continue to repeat the same problem until they're dead. A lot of companies that died during COVID, before COVID, and after COVID, got stuck in this loop. Keep going, because we got a lot further to go. This is the easy part. Next slide. Okay, go on.
If you reach this stage and you find yourself blaming other people or saying things like, this isn't fair, or why did this happen to me, then you haven't accepted responsibility for the mistake. You need to go back to step one.
Okay, black people. Let's see. Black people, we got some Latin folks in here. Read that last, this isn't fair, or why did this happen to me? Then you haven't accepted responsibility for the mistakes. You need to go back to step one. As a culture, that's how we talk. As individuals, it's not fair. This is just, I don't believe this is happening to me. Once you accept responsibility, you realize, oh, this can happen to you. Doesn't mean it should or shouldn't. That's a different conversation. Is it? Because what you're trying to do is negotiate with reality. Remember that old phrase we talked about a couple of weeks ago? When you negotiate with reality's going to whoop your ass. If you want to be smart in this real world, you're going to accept reality for what it is. So if you hear somebody going, oh, it isn't fair, I have a fairness issue, and then they turn around and say, I don't understand why I'm not making money or why life is not changing, why it's not growing, they're stuck in a world where they're trying to use their imagination to negotiate with reality. Okay? Keep going.
Mistakes turn into anchors
Ooh.
if you don't accept them.
What do they do? Wait a minute. Mistakes turn into what?
Anchors.
Mistakes turn into what?
Anchors.
If you don't what?
Accept them.
You might get that? How powerful that is?
Oh my God.
Okay. Do you realize that? Let me see. Read it. Let me see where it's. Keep going.
Part of accepting them is learning from them and then letting them go.
Keep going.
We can't change the past, but we can work to undo the effects it's had on the future.
That's the answer to racism right there, black people. Read that last phrase. Read that last sentence one more time.
We can't change the past, but we can work to undo the effects it's had on the future.
That's our core strategy right there. If you got to say, what is the model of how we should wake up every day to reverse the impacts of slavery, Jim Crowism, and the crack era? You see everybody's walking around and they're anchored in the past, and that means they can't move into the future. You know, Martin said, Malcolm, Wall Street, Black Wall Street, and then this happened to us and that happened to us, and I'm telling you, white folks will do this to you, and then racism will do this, and the government will cut you off. Bruh, no offense. We learn from that. As we learn from that, today, I'm working to protect the future. Because nothing I'm going to do today going to fix that shit right there. If you dig up Hoover, the ex, who was it, Hoover? FBI, right? Yeah, if you dig his ass up and you start to beat his bones up, it means nothing. Okay, so what the fuck are we doing, people? Is how do we protect our future? Okay, before I go any further, because we're about to dive into so much shit. Have you ever heard anybody say that in the black community? Learn from our past, but focus on protecting our future. It's not just, we're anchored in the past. Most activists anchored in the past. So, like, if you ever see somebody debate something and then they bring up some past experience as if that should stop the conversation because of what happened here, we should move forward because of that, because of what happened back here. That's just crazy. Keep going.
The most powerful story in the world is the one you tell yourself.
Come on now.
That inner voice has the power to move you forward or anchor you to the past. Choose wisely.
You know, when I was younger, I went through this. This is why I don't do this today. When I was younger, my family did this to me. This is why I can't do this today. I came from this hood, so this is why I moved like this today. I didn't have money when I was growing up, so that's why I'm like this today. No, you look at the past, learn from that shit, but that's not your justification how you move forward. It's trash. You say, well, no, I thought we were solving problems, mistakes. Because if you talk like that, when problems come up, you're making your decisions from the anchor, not the prediction of the future. I just want you to think about that. You're solving problems from an anchor space as opposed to aligning yourself with your future. And you want to share these stories with everybody who has an ear to listen. Oh man, I've been through and I went through and oh my God, I've been through again. And I've been through this and I've been through that. To only portray the future with your anchored ass past. Is that cold? Watch now when you hear activists, how they're going to sound so crazy to your ears. You're like, they're not moving forward. They're just signaling for status by talking about the past with no plan to move forward, Umar Johnson. Okay, let's do the next slide. All right, I do it funny. All right, now, I got to slow it. I moved through that fast as I could. Slow down a little bit, and I'm going to slow down as we keep good. Now, this is when you guys have questions, because now we got to start getting to the substance of the conversation. You know what I didn't say, the meat of the conversation. You see that? Better than court. Okay, go ahead. So, all right, start with, okay, go ahead.
Once you have reprogrammed your defaults.
So, stop. Where's the default? Huh? Grab your microphone. So, say again. Turn it on.
What you do automatically. Like your heuristics, like the autopilot.
So we all have hella defaults. You are full of defaults. You were born with default downloads. Right now, if somebody ran up on you, you have a default response. If somebody took something from you, you have a default response. If you have multiple problems in your life, you have a default way of solving those problems. Let me be very clear. Your default is not problem solving. It's just your comfort zone, right? Scarcity is your default. It can be mixed with fear. It can be mixed with biases. It can be mixed with survival. It can be mixed with stories you tell yourself. Defaults. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to say this real quick before we get into the meat of this. Many of you guys are just walking around in your defaults. You just respond to all your defaults all the time. And your life never changes. It feels like you're working hella hard to get the same results. Because at the end of the day, you are a walk-in default. Now, you learn to articulate and protect and defend your default position, but you ain't moving shit forward. Because at the end of the day, you do things based upon your defaults. Guys, get that so far? Mm-hmm. Any questions on it before I move forward? Because if you miss this point, then it's going to get more and more confusing. Go. Once you start from the beginning.
Once you have reprogrammed your defaults to create space for clear thinking, you must master the skill of decision making.
All right, this is where it's going to get rough. Go ahead.
Decisions are different from choices.
Okay, listen to this. Decisions are different from choices. Keep going.
If you casually select an option, from a range of alternatives. You've made a choice.
Okay, stop. This is where oppression lives. This is where the impact of slavery lives. This is where the failures of your ancestors, the diseases of their losses are passed down. If you make a selection from a group of alternatives, like for example, you're working your business every day, problem pops up, and you go, okay, do it this way. Okay, do that this way. Big problem lands. Boom, you go, okay, what I usually do, I usually do this way. I usually solves my problem. Those are not decisions. Mm-hmm. Those are choices. There's a choice. When you get into this, I want you to be very clear. This is not a decision. If you're moving fast, more than likely, you're mostly making choices. Mm-hmm. Meaning that your default is ruling. Even though and a lot of those choices, you don't even own them, if you don't be honest with me. You've copied and pasted them from other people, not even be able to measure their successes from their choices. Keep going.
If you react without thinking, you've made an unconscious choice.
If you're in autopilot, if you're busy, if you're stressed out, if you're emotional, you're not making decisions. Keep going.
But neither of these is the same as a decision.
Come on now.
A decision is a choice that involves conscious thought.
Okay. If you make decisions, if you're not making conscious thoughts, they're not decisions. Don't even play with the word. Don't be like, well, what about this time when it sounded so intelligent? Were you conscious of what you were saying, or were you just copying and pasting what you were saying? Were you repeating a trend? Were you trained, or do you own the training? Big difference. Keep going.
Often, what seems like poor judgment in hindsight doesn't even register as a decision in the moment.
So real quick, a lot of times we reflect and be like, that was a bad decision. It wasn't a decision. It was a bad choice because you didn't even think right. You didn't even think through it. You didn't know how to think through it. Mind you, you know who makes all the choices in the world? Children. And many adults never learn how to make choices like adults. You still make choices like a child. You think you're making decisions, but a lot of your decisions, a lot of your flaws and all your mistakes were just choices. And some of you guys have had a run of wins on choices, and you brag about your choices like they're decisions, to only find out when your choices are actually challenged, they fail you every time. You got to be able to see this, because if you don't see this, you'll think you're making decisions every day, and you think you're smart, and you don't realize you're just copying and pasting, most of the time, popular culture choices. For example, you ever been in a barbershop? You can almost tell who's going to win an argument based upon the popular idea that's leading in that conversation, right? They're training you how to think in the category of choices. That's not a decision. Barbershops don't have conversations that produce decisions. They have conversations that produce choices. When you watch the news, right? They say this happened and this is good, this is bad. That's choice thinking. That's not decision thinking. Let's go.
When the defaults conspire, we react without thinking, and that reaction doesn't even count as a decision.
So when something happens in your life, and it's an emotional hit, right? And these multiple things happen, and you feel some kind of way, and you respond to your feelings, you think you made a decision. It could be like your money's being threatened, or your customers' numbers just dropped, or you don't think you'll make your car payment, or your employee just made a big mistake, or you just made a mistake, or the person didn't buy the product you worked so hard to put this time into, or the amount of money they offered you was trash. From this point on, you think you're about to make decisions to the process, and you're making choices. Or you've been making choices this long, and it won at this stage, and now as you hit this stage, you're just trying to use that same choice architecture to keep moving forward and have no idea you're not tapping into decisions. Summarize and hit the point. Go ahead.
I just want to pair it back to you. So it's not a decision because the choices were architected by either the environment or somebody did that for me, versus decision is me consciously taking a step back, looking at the landscape, and then choosing
100%.
how I want to engage.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Keep going.
Often, what seems like poor judgment in hindsight doesn't even register as a decision in the moment. When the defaults.
Okay, I think she did copy that. Next slide. She did copy paste. So wait a minute, did she miss something? Okay, so decisions require. I can just summarize it real quick. Decisions require critical thought. Keep going. Read the next one. Just keep going. I'll see if I can pick it up from here. Keep going.
Here's the method. Define the problem, explore possible solutions, evaluate the options, make the judgment, execute the best option.
One second, real quick. Let me see. I think she missed something. Let me just check real quick. I think she missed something. Just real quick, because it's going to get. I don't want to lose this one. This is one of the. I've never taught this class before, and I don't want to miss that one point. Let me pull the slide real quick. Okay, here we go. Let me pull this up. Let me just make sure she didn't miss it, or something happened. Okay, here we go. Emergence. Let's go. Just Jesus Christ. Okay. Decisions. Often seems like poor judgment. Often it seems poor judgment. Here's what define. Okay.
Bad decision.
Okay. Yeah, it is. We're okay. Okay, keep going. So define the methods, define the problems, explore possible solutions, evaluate the options, make the judgments, execute the best options. Okay, so I'm gonna break this method down slowly. This is kind of help you follow along. This is the path. So start from the bottom. Small children.
Small children tend to make choices without any kind of evaluation.
So most children just make choices without evaluating. They just kind of run into a problem, see the problem, react, right? They don't evaluate long-term effect. Is this in my best interest? Do I lose the battle and win the war? None of that stuff is part of their thinking. It's just pretty much something happened, I don't like it, react. Keep going.
Sometimes adults do too.
Yes, they do. Go ahead.
Perhaps it's because we have to make a choice so quickly that we don't have time to evaluate the options.
So key word, when you have to make decisions quickly, you don't have time to do what?
Evaluate the options.
Listen to what I just said. This is so, I can't begin to tell you this. This is going to explain to you a lot about leadership right now. If you're moving so fast, I'm so busy, I'm running my business, I'm always busy. Oh my God, I'm so busy. I'm just taking care of so much stuff. Guess what you're doing? Making choices, not decisions. So why has you been running this business for 5 years and no different outcomes? Why has your bank account have never gotten past a certain number? You are a choice monster. You've been making choices all day. You don't have time to make a decision. Then when you get home, if you're not creating gaps of space in your life to stop and make a decision, then you are just making choices, which means you're not even driving your own vehicle. You're just being pushed through life. You're not controlling your life. You're literally, excuse me, young people, you're being bitched up by life. Then you want to turn around to me and tell me how much you're a powerful person. Trash. Keep going.
Or maybe it's because we let habit choose for us.
So once again, a lot of our choices are habits. What I typically do when this happens? What I typically do is like these habit forming. We start off in the beginning of our business with these habits, and now we're running a business and we don't mature and we got the same old worn out, lazy ass, non-effective habits. Keep going.
The inertia of past choices carrying us through the present moment.
So the inertia, key word, remember inertia is a force that's moving you through, because once you got used to this movement, these past choices gotten you this far. Now you got used to these choices. It's carried you this far. You have become religious about these choices, not your decisions, though. Be very clear. There's a separation between choices and decisions, but you're religious about them. You preach them. If somebody gave you a microphone to talk to a group of students or a group of other entrepreneurs, you talk about your choices all day long. Realize you don't own decision making. Keep going.
Without exploring our options. Or maybe it's just that we let our emotions make choices.
So here's a third one. When you're hella emotional, When you know you're emotional, when you know you get triggered, when you know you get sensitive, when you know people offend you, you don't make many decisions. You don't. Go ahead, Kyle, just summarize question.
This is the point I tried to make last week about not arguing. What you just said, when you get upset, when you get emotional, when you get triggered, that's not when you make decisions.
Well,
Remember the point
You
we
have to give me context.
Last week, we talked about, Court asked the question about people whose default is to say, I'm not getting into the conflict, or I'm not arguing with people.
Yeah, but okay, because now you've lost control. When you get to that point, I'm not. First of all, okay, you gotta know how to navigate. Like if you have somebody who's just a horrible, they're attacker. They just all they want to do. They just want to poke holes and stuff and just cause problems. You gotta know just okay, that's cool, and just walk away. You don't. But when you get to the point like, oh, I'm not, because I'm getting offended. I don't know. I don't want to get over this. I don't want to go over that line. Then that's the problem. You're already over the line. You gotta learn how to move in a way that realize this is just the world you live in. People are gonna have different opinions. People are gonna irritate you. So what? Because you don't get to predict your emotional spaces, control them all. That's an illusion. When you're running something and you got a lot at stake, Shakina or who else is running a company? Yapasua may go to office tomorrow, right? And when they get to the office, it's a normal day. Birds out there chirping, all kind of shit. And all of a sudden, a phone call comes through and it's all hell has broken loose. If you don't have control of your emotions, and you're waiting for these planned, controlled, and like managed situations, then you're still gonna get whooped, because you gotta learn how to get hit from every fucking angle in an unexpected way and still have emotional control. One of the things that make a lot of these young gangsters trash, they have no emotional control. They're literally, the turnover rate is so high, because if you look at the old school gangsters, I don't know if you ever talked to an old school gangster, they don't get emotional very much. They make decisions. You know what I'm talking about. When you go to the streets, somebody who makes decisions, you can't fade them. A real boss, you can't fade a real boss. People who want to be a boss who's really, really weak, they're popping off to all these emotions. Right? So you have to gain, in order for you not to develop a choice architecture that you think is a decision architecture, is you're going to have to work on your emotional, because you could be as smart as fuck, but when that emotion hits, you Joe Pesci. Remember the gangster movie? He just took him, he snapped, he was all this plan until he gets angry and then everything goes south, right? And so at the end of the day, it's like you really have to work on your emotional balance to own decision making. Otherwise, you're a victim of choices. Keep going.
Momentary anger, fear, or desire preempting evaluation and pushing us to act without thinking or reason.
So, once again, look at all those. Momentary anger, momentary fear. Some of you tell me, a lot of black people, we mask our fear with anger. Right? If you fear you're under threat, a lot of times we attack first, right? Or desire. If you want something so bad, go to a car dealership and you ain't never had a nice car before, and let them get in front of you with a nice car. And if they get that number where it's reachable in your mind, watch you lose all your decision-making skills. They ain't losing theirs, because they sell cars every day long. All day long. You got to get yourself to a point where you can bring your emotions so far down and be like, what'd you just say to me? That doesn't make any sense. I can evaluate this information. I hear what you're saying. Thank you for sharing the story about your daughter and her in preschool and how you're trying to earn money for that. But this has nothing to do with that. I want this price here. For you to be able to make that decision, that means you probably put the work in, you're engaged, you own the decision process, you analyze it. But a lot of times when you go to a car dealership, think about how they've gotten you, or how I felt, because they had you in a space of desire. You dating somebody. Are you making choices or are you making decisions? Cold game, right? Mm-hmm. Next slide.
None of these examples count as decisions.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean we're not responsible for them.
So even when you make bad choices, they're going to cost you some money. you don't get to outsource some badass choices. Go ahead.
Who is that laughing? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We are. It simply means we're not reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
We're not consciously thinking.
Stop. This is just a bit quicker. If you're a leader, you should be analytical. If you're not, you're a choice-making machine. Analytical. If you're not if you're a leader, you should be you should be a reasoning machine. You should be asking you should walk around talking about, what about this? What about that? To yourself, I'm not talking about, you just disturbing everybody with what about questions, because then you'd be the only person at a party by yourself. But you should move it like that in your mind, where you're always questioning and you're always curious and you're always analyzing, you're always thinking. When you start thinking, your life will be the default. Okay, let me explain to you, black people, what default means. Black people economically are one of the poorest people in the United States. If you want the same lifestyle, move in your defaults. Because we look good, but we broke. We broke as shit. Well, we are. We are. Because everybody wants to do. If you say everybody does this, that's a default decision. That's not a decision. That's a choice. Default choice. This is what most people do in this situation. Like what this company does when this happens, this is how they handle it. Mm-hmm. That's a choice. That's not a decision. So your defaults, be careful with defaults. Be careful reasoning based upon what everybody's doing. Keep going.
Instead, we're reacting and giving up our deciding moment to our default.
So when you're just reacting, you're giving up the power of decision. I want you to understand, no, the white man's not victimizing you. Men are not victimizing. Straight people are not victimizing gay people. Nobody's victimizing anybody. You're giving up your power time and time and time again, and then guess what you end up doing? Blaming somebody else. Because remember, choices is something we have to have access to, and most black people have been taught how to have access to decisions. We're choice-making animals. It's easier for your brain. You burn less calories. Your brain don't want to make decisions every day. That's too much. Do you realize you got to get sleep to make decisions? Get no sleep through a day and see how many decisions you make. Very little. You might think they're decisions because they were complex to you. To you. Go hungry. Stop exercising and watch your brain become more choice favored than decision favored. Because you know why? That's too much. My goddaughter said to me the other day, that's too much. I said, don't you ever say that shit to me as long as you live again. And I was very serious. I might scare the shit out of her. Because what she's saying is, that's a statement is, I'm going to go with the default over thinking and controlling my own life. See the difference? Choice versus decisions. Let's keep rolling.
It's in these moments that we often do something contrary to what we'd decide is best if we reasoned instead of reacted.
So we end up doing shit that's contracted, you end up making decisions that work against you as opposed to for you. Keep going.
When we react without reason, we cause more problems than we solve.
Say that again to Neil, Shabisha, Shakina, Kaja. Hear this again. Say it again.
When we react without reason, we cause more problems than we solve.
Let me help you out with this. When you're making choices, you're causing more problems in your life than you're solving. What you think your life's gonna look like? I'm so fucking busy. Oh my God, I'm working so hard. And your bank account numbers didn't change. I'm so busy. I'm working so hard. Your family's still fucked up. I'm so busy. I'm working so hard. And you still stuck in that rat-infested building. I want you to see this like, this is when your hard work is not yielding you a return, because at the end of the day, read that last sentence again.
When we react without reason, we cause more problems than we solve.
So when you're making choices all day long, you're causing more problems than you're solving. Your life is not hectic because you have to do that. A lot of times your life is hectic because you never learn decision making. You ever watch my lifestyle? It's a lot smoother than most people's lifestyle. It's because we practice decision making all the time. I'm going to show you how in a second. Keep going.
If only we had the hindsight of our future selves as our foresight now.
Keep going.
When the stakes are low, inaction hurts you more than speed.
So, okay, let me be very clear. When do you make choices? It's when the stakes are low, right? Go into a gym. Should I use that machine or that machine? Just choose a fucking machine. That's a choice. Don't you go in there and start making decisions. Right? You be like, God damn, you only did 2 machines. I had to process all this, Donna. Right? But when the stakes are high, don't make a choice, make a decision. Be very clear. Keep going.
Sometimes it's better just to make a quick choice and not spend time deliberating. Why waste time evaluating if an action is inconsequential and its effects are easily reversed?
So something can be easily reversed. So you say you made a choice and you go, bad choice. And to turn around and go the opposite direction, it's okay to use choices. Choices is like system 1 of your brain. It's trying to use the least amount of resources in your brain. Remember, your brain eats up uses most of the resources of your body. So your brain is trying to be conservative of where does it use its energy and where it doesn't use its energy. So if something's really simple, like, do I use the word the or they? Make the fucking choice. Just keep going, right? But the context of who you're writing to and why you're writing to that person to achieve what is a decision. Guys get the difference? Okay, keep going.
For example, if there are 2 identical squat racks in
Yeah,
the
we'll
gym,
keep going and see.
and both are momentarily open,
Yeah.
it makes no difference which one you take. If you wait and decide, they'll both be taken by someone else. Just choose either one.
Next slide.
When the stakes are higher, though, speed can hurt you.
Speed can hurt you when your stakes are high. So you trying to solve big problems quickly. Listen to this real quick. If you're trying to solve big problems in your life quickly, it's going to hurt you. Keep going.
If an action could have a major impact on your life or your business and its effects can't be reversed, you must decide and not merely choose.
Mm-hmm.
In these cases, the magnitude of the potential losses makes careful decision-making a worthwhile investment of your time.
Mm-hmm.
In these cases, evaluate the options and decide. Don't just choose.
Okay. When you have a big problem in your business, this is when optionality matters. Make sure you're not binary. Because if you're binary, you're not making a decision, you're making a choice. If you feel like either I do this or that, that's not a decision. If there's not a third or fourth on the table, you're not making a decision. It's just a default choice that in your brain you wrapped it in a decision gift wrap bag, but it's a choice. It's not a decision. Decision is you stop and you want to look at multiple angles. But let's keep going because this is how you're going to grow your decision making. Go ahead.
The next few sections describe some tools for reasoning better when making decisions.
So we're going to get some tools you can use when making better decisions, and mind you, there ain't a couple of tools. These are some core tools, but you should be on a journey to always develop so many different. You ever meet a master carpenter, and if you go into his shed of tools, you're going to see tools you ain't never seen before, right? Some of y'all just got a hammer and a screwdriver and trying to get through life. And when the shit works, it works really, really well. But damn, you done destroyed so many shower heads. Go ahead.
They won't solve every decision-making problem because no tool is right for every job. Each has its uses and limitations. You need multiple tools in your toolbox. Otherwise, you end up solving the wrong problem.
Ooh, go ahead.
As the old adage says, if the only tool you have is a hammer, you tend to see every problem as a nail.
When you have a very few tools, you try to convert every problem to fit your tools. We only have a few tools. Even though that problem is way over here, you're going to try to make that problem. You ever try to use a tool that wasn't supposed to be used on something and you got the job done, but it was hacked? It looks so bad compared to if a professional comes in. And matter of fact, you hack it so bad that you probably damaged it, that you even compromised its longevity. This is what happens when you have very few problem-solving, decision-making tools. You have a tendency to force problems. And here's the thing. You can talk about the problem in an eloquent way. Don't confuse charisma with solution. Because a lot of times you will hear charisma for somebody, or you will articulate a solution, but you are no closer to the solution than you were before. And I'm about to show you in a minute one of the greatest biases that smart people suffer from is this one here. But let's go. Next slide. And I'm moving pretty fast. Tell me, by the way, how many more slides I have, Josh? Give me an idea.
18.
Huh? How many I have? 10? Okay. All right, go. So I can keep an idea because I want to slow down, really slow it down once you get to a certain point. Go ahead, keep going. Let's go. Okay, go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
If you can't keep those in check, if you're easily swayed by emotion, if you can't adapt to change, if you value being right more than doing what's best, then all the tools in the world aren't going to help you. The defaults will overwhelm you, route your decision-making process, and seize control of your life.
Okay. I'm going to read this slower because once you understand what the fuck that just said, this is called when you don't get control of your youthful, impulsive behavior, you will learn everything in this class and do the same shit you did last week tomorrow. You're not going to do anything different. You'll be the smartest, fucked up person you've ever met. You're that scholar in prison right now. Like literally. I'm going to say this again. If you can't keep those in check, if you're easily swayed by your emotions, you know me, I'm emotional. If you can't adapt to change, it's always been this way. I'm just trying to keep things the same. This is how we've always done it. This is how I'm trying to move things forward. Why you got to change shit? You know what? We being gentrified. We need to get back to the way it was. No, can you adapt quickly? Because if you don't adapt, you are part of the gentrification story too. That's the reality of it. You got to adapt because this world is a living system. We're part of the organs on this universe. I mean, on this planet, and this planet is changing all the time. There's a famous phrase that said, when somebody said, that's never happened before, it was a scientist from Stanford, got his name, he wrote that famous book. He said, things that never happened before happens all the time. Mm-hmm. This is a living organism. So if you can't adapt, then guess what you're going to do? You go to your default to try to do what? Keep it the same. Okay, and it says, or if you value being right more than doing what's best. Right is a short-term vision of making you feel good, but lose the battle long term. Some of y'all, I'm going to show you two ways of being right. One way of being right is you feel like you're wrong and you need to be right and you destroy whatever, you fucking blow the house up because in the end you need to be right at the expense of your career, your future, whatever. You see it in sports all the time, right? Or you have a chance to, say these young men want to go into the business world and they want to work for Yapasua first. Say that Yapasua aligns with their industry goals. And Yapasua say, I can pay you 50 grand. And the young dude says, I should be getting 80 to 100. And he spends all his time trying to get that number just right. He doesn't realize he fucked his life long term. You say, what do you mean, Nana? Money will come and go, and they're gonna make way more money later on. What's the most important thing for a young person is get insight and training from people who actually will invest and care about them. Internship will make a young person more money long term than them trying to get paid out the gate up front. Now I understand if somebody's suffering and they out in the streets and they need at least 60 grand to live. Okay, have that conversation. But a lot of times when you guys have a free, like for example, when you break into a new market, sometimes you give your shit away for free. Oh, I can't give it away for free. No, I can't. Why? Because in the end, I will feel wronged. That's another way of being wrong. So a lot of times when you're trying to protect your ego, your self-value, when you're I person, you're gonna anytime I is threatened, guess what you're gonna do? Go to defaults. All your defaults are gonna control all your fucking decision making. Keep going. Then all the tools in the world aren't going to help you. The defaults will overwhelm you. They're gonna overwhelm you. No, it ain't gonna hit you. It's gonna overwhelm you. You know what overwhelm means? Mean that your reasoning part of your brain is no longer controlling your conversation no more. And then it's gonna rewrite. You're gonna rewrite all your energy into the defaults, and it's easy to control your life. And guess a lot of those defaults come from? Passed down from who? Your mama, your daddy, your neighborhood, where you grew up. Black people, the music you listen to, shows you watch on television. Those are your defaults, not your decisions. What you feel. You ever been somewhere and you be like, God damn, and you call out a race. God damn Asians, God damn black people, God damn white people. There's no such thing. There's really no such thing. There's no such thing as all black. What race does all the same shit where? There's no such thing. So that's a default response. I get that. When you're in a barbershop and you have a default conversation, be like, man, you know what white people be doing? And everybody laughing. Okay, that's funny. That's a joke. When Chris, the one got slapped. Chris Rock. Hey, my memory. Hey, that's what I remember. Okay, so but when Chris Rock said, "I hate this, but I love these," there's no such thing. And it's cool. It's okay to have that as a humor point, but separate the defaults from decisions. I could tell you around tomorrow and say, hey, here's an opportunity to make some money in East Oakland. You'd be like, shh, black people ain't gonna fuck with me like that. What black people you talking about? What are you talking about? Do you realize by the time your market's up and running, there's a new generation? Them black people right there sitting at that table, them young brothers right there, don't move like my black person moved. Because they have a different world they coming up in. So they're gonna have different clothing decisions, different desire of products, different. So if you selling shit I like, they ain't buying it. And if you're analyzing me, because you know me and I reflect a certain group of black people, you don't see them. So in order to see them, you can't talk the language of, you can't let your defaults take over your decision making as you're moving and marketing, as you're talking, as you're thinking, as you're acting. Social media is pushing blindly, and social media, and this is the reality of it, is hypnotizing you with so many false defaults and teaching you so many bad choices, you don't realize you don't know how to make a decision. Social justice was a purely choice-based, mob-based system that took off. And then when I ask people certain questions, they're like, well, and they quote social media shit. I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. What the fuck are you talking about? Like the dude said, if the white Americans tomorrow say, oh, you know what, Black Lives Matter, but didn't change any resources, and you didn't improve your schools at all, what changes the next day? Not a motherfucking thing besides Black Lives Matter. You probably get some free t-shirts. Revolution over. Next slide.
Does everybody know what root means? If it roots
route, to reroute it, to reroute something. Was that the word you were looking at previously?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, route. It was route, not root. Go back a slide.
It's not spelled wrong.
You route your decisions?
It's not spelled wrong. That word means a state of wild confusion and disorderly retreat, a disastrous defeat.
The word route?
That word, yeah. It's R-U-T is not meaning route like that.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. But
Yeah.
okay. So read the definition, because I got the definition wrong. I would say reroute your decisions. Go ahead.
Is a state of wild confusion and disorderly retreat. It is to disperse in defeat and disorderly flight.
So it's saying that when it's almost like saying when you're emotionally knocked off your feet, you're not making decisions what you're doing is you're kind of almost like survival mode, right?
Yeah, it's a panicked, disorderly, and undisciplined retreat. That's what it does to your decision making process.
Yeah. Next slide.
The first principle of decision making is that the decider needs to define the problem.
This right here can kill your business. this right here, could literally, if you want to lose control of your life, if you don't have the power of defining your own problems, I'm going to show you so many ways of how to not define your problem is so destructive. And it's one of the things that very few people understand, and it's often taken over by this thing called satisficing, which is somebody comes up with a great idea, and then everybody kind of rallies around that great idea. This is a super, super, super powerful point. Keep going.
If you're not the one making the decision, you can suggest the problem that needs to be solved, but you don't get to define it.
If you don't own the problem, and it's not your problem, and you don't take ownership of the problem, you don't get to define it. Let me explain something to you real quick. Remember how social justice, I told you social justice is a white liberal movement, and outside people are defining our problems. I want you to understand that. Once outside people define your problems, you can't solve them. In order to solve your problems, the first rule is you must clearly have definition of what is the fucking problem that we're trying to solve. But not the symptoms. Because symptoms are expensive. And guess what happens with smart people? If you give a smart person a symptom and it sounds good enough because it's charismatic, right? Then all the smart people will rally around and solve the symptom and leave the problem unchanged. That whole era of giving black people money to help them start their businesses, was that solving the problem or was that solving the symptoms? I want you to stay with me. I want you to pay attention to all the money that came into our community outside. The money that was given to us to keep you eating and surviving during COVID is one thing. But I'm talking about the George Floyd money. A lot of that money is directed towards symptoms, not the problems. And there's more nonprofits designed for the what? Symptoms, not the problem. I want you guys to be very clear, because without understanding problems, now let's move forward with this. But without understanding the problem, I want you to understand you don't solve it. Keep going.
Only the person responsible for the outcome does.
Next slide.
The decision maker can take input from anywhere. Bosses, subordinates, colleagues, experts, etc. However, the responsibility to get to the bottom of the problem, to sort fact from opinion, and determine what's really happening rests with them.
You make a lot of choices, right? That means you probably I used to call it patching. That means when you're making a lot of choices, all you're doing is solving symptoms. But you don't realize when you have to solve problems, you have to slow down and get other people's opinion. You have to listen to stuff. You have to explore what's really going on here. What you feel most of the time ain't it. Now, sometimes as you get more and more mature in the industry, you can start to see it. But even when you mature, sometimes your maturity allows you to assume things that doesn't even exist, right? This is one there was somebody recently, I don't want to say the person because the story it woke me up in the middle of the night, bothered me, but somebody died recently. And the coroner, the police officer would not announce what killed this person until they get all the details. If they make their assumptions, right, it's a chance it can go in the wrong direction. So when you run your own business, when you have to make a decision, understand the first thing you have to do is define the problem that's facing you. If you're being impulsive and you're moving fast, you're probably only looking at the symptoms, not the problem. This is so cold. Okay, watch this. I'm gonna do one real quick. What's the value of school? What problem does school solve? Somebody give me something quick.
To give you the ability to think in a group setting.
Okay.
Allow parents to go to work.
Okay, keep going.
I'm getting
Go ahead.
That came from tomorrow.
Go ahead.
To train a future workforce.
Go ahead.
So that people learn how to follow instructions.
Go ahead. So how many, just real quick, just out of those real quick, let's start with that. Out of everything that was just mentioned, which ones you think are the problems they're really solving? When you think about school as a whole, We're not talking about some of the symptoms or some of the character, some of the benefits of school. Because different benefits are what problem you're here to solve. And will the problem be equal with all people? Okay. If one group is living in a very damaged neighborhood, poor running systems, and you educate them with basic academic thinking skills that doesn't translate into civic, social, cultural responsibilities to solve their own problems, to allow them to participate, is it education? Right? So then why do we continue to say, hey, did you pass this test? Did you learn this history lesson? And not think about, does this tie into their needs as far as the ability to solve their problems? Go ahead. Summarize.
Question. So I agree that most schools, particularly for Black people, are not very beneficial. My curiosity piques because most of us are in a position where we don't have the opportunity to not send our kids to school because we have to work to take care of them. So then where do we start with creating a different solution outside of what we teach our kids at home?
Well, the thing is that because it's not about, it's the problem, how many Black people actually participate in educational systems? I'm sure we have an educator here who can tell you it's like a desert. It's not all of us don't participate. We tell the schools this is what y'all need to do, and then we go about our business and we turn them into babysitters, right? But if we sat down, schools should be responding to community and cultural needs. If it doesn't respond to community and cultural needs, it's easy for it to get caught up in symptoms. See where I'm going with that? So it's very clear. They have to be very clear. What are we here to solve? If I'm Castlemont, what are we here to solve? If I'm Castro Valley High, what are we here to solve, right? If I'm in Black Hawk, what are we here to solve? Education has to be very clear what it's here to solve. Otherwise, at some point, it's going to get out of alignment because you're only responding to symptoms, mean that you're all over the place. But when you're very clear on what you're here to solve, now we know how to put our brains into where do we invest our what? Resources. Mm-hmm. What happens when we invest all the resources in the symptoms? We go broke. And the problem is still there. Once again, by us avoiding ownership, then what happens is that problem is, and because we just patch it to go away for the day, that problem continues to grow and destroy us as a business. So ownership is critical. Be clear what problem we're here to solve. If you're not clear about what problem you're here to solve, you can spend your time, your energy, and your money and destroy your business. What are we here to solve? And don't let the articulate person in the circle who had the best description of the problem own the problem. If you're the owner as a leader, you own it. Now you taking all the feedback from everybody, which we'll get into how do you do that. But you're taking the feedback from everybody, you do your research. You can even use your AI now, right? But if you're not very clear on what the problem is, you're throwing your money in the air. Give it to me, I'll go to Atlanta. Keep going. Y'all want me to just throw the money in the air. I got that. All right, go ahead.
Defining the problem starts with identifying two things.
Come on.
One, what you want to achieve, and two, what obstacles stand in the way of getting it.
So watch this. Education for Black people, right? What do you want to achieve? You want a community that can participate in the life experiences as human beings, right? Because right now we're not participating. We're being served by life, but we're not controlling education. We're not controlling raw resources. We're not controlling land. We're ungoverned. So you want Black people to jump in the game of being voices in the world of people, contributing to the world's innovations, contributing to controlling their lifestyle, having choices to protect their lifestyle. Like you want them to participate in the human experience, right? So you ask a question, let's say you're running a business, what do I want to achieve right now? If you don't ask, you're not very clear on what you want to achieve, it's really easy to get distracted with Black Lives Matter. What's that got to do with what you want to achieve? What are you trying to achieve with that? I want you guys to see how this happens every day from big corporations all the way down to, we need to stop the bullying. So what we're going to do is we're going to punish this other kid. What are you trying to achieve here, bro? Like, what are we trying to achieve here? How's that going to solve the problem? Or is that a symptom that's well articulated with a lot of emotions that's on top of it? And once they hit your emotions, guess what you're no longer doing right now? You're no longer, so for example, let's say I articulate an emotional thing I'm going through as I'm talking to you in business, right? People do this in business all the time. Salespeople do this to you all the time. They articulate something very emotional that you can relate to. Like, yeah, my daughter passed away when she was 7, and I've been out here selling encyclopedias in 2023, even though everybody has cell phones. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'm almost there. And, you know, and I came to you because I saw you with your daughter, and she's so beautiful, reminds me of my daughter. Guess what they're doing is they're removing your decision-making skills because you're getting emotional. Now you're about to make a choice. Then you have a house full of fucking encyclopedias that you don't even understand why. Your friends come over and be like, why do you got all these books in your house that no one's ever going to open? Don't you? Hey, Google, what is... Stop. Don't do that. Cancel. So my point is that... Stop. Okay. So my point is that, one, is that be very clear on what you're trying to achieve. Number two, what obstacles stand in the way of getting it done, right? And don't blame other people. Be realistic about your obstacles. You say, for example, white people won't let me. Which white person are you talking about? Well, how are they incentivized to not let you? How are they getting paid? And why are you so goddamn important that they woke up this morning and says, you know what? I'm not going to let you decide to make no money today. So at this point, white people is no longer a discussion. What you're really dealing with is some other obstacle that's stopping you from achieving your goal. Keep going.
Often, the first plausible description of the situation defines the problem that the team will try to solve. Mm-hmm. Once the group comes up with a solution, the decision maker feels good. Mm-hmm. That person then allocates resources toward the idea and expects the problem to be solved. Mm-hmm. But it isn't, because the first lens into an issue rarely reveals what the real problem is. So the real problem doesn't get solved.
Okay, so let me explain to you how this works in your office. You walk into the office, you say, hey, y'all, we have a big problem. Here's a problem. Let's say somebody in a group is almost like the modern day version of Shakespeare, and they articulate the problem really, really well. Then everybody goes, there's a pause. Then somebody says, but what if we do this? But they speak into that person's problem, that person's articulated description of what the problem is, their definition of the problem. And then everybody starts to speak to the definition, not realizing we have forgot where the definition even came from. We're really captured by the charismatic behavior of the person who just spoke, not realizing we're not solving the problem. Right? Keep going. Next slide.
The social default prompts us to accept the first definition people agree on and move forward. Mm-hmm. Once someone states a problem, the team shifts into solution mode without considering whether the problem has even been correctly defined. Mm-hmm. This is what happens when you put a bunch of smart type A people together and tell them to solve a problem.
Colleges, smart people who have big degrees. When you have a whole bunch of employees that sit around the table and everybody's highly educated, this is the most common bias I've ever seen. I've been in this circle so many fucking times. Look, I've been in rooms where people put in more, they invested more into their education than I have, by far. Some of these people are freaking brilliant, and they get stuck in this loop right here, where they're solution-solving machines, they're symptom-solving machines, but they never, ever get to the problem, because what they do is they bring, as soon as somebody makes a suggestion that we all feel it, and you'll see it when you're around these smart people, as soon as they feel it, you just make them, Or somebody says, you know, that happened to me. I know that happened to some other company. What we're leaving off the table is we don't have ownership of the problem yet. We just assume it based upon the charisma, and then we take off running. You guys see where I'm going with this? Okay, keep going.
Most of the time.
Go back. Go ahead.
Most of the time, they end up missing the real problem and merely addressing a symptom of it. They react without reason.
So now you're stuck in this where the group, which is highly intelligent, is no longer functioning as a group of, even though they sound intelligent, they don't own reasoning. Be very clear. Everybody in that room is highly. They can write a paper that will blow your mind, but yet they lack reasoning because now they're stuck in this inertia of somebody gave us this emotional point. We're taking off. I feel good about this solution, this definition of the problem. We're really good about this definition of the problem. So now we're going to take off on these crazy solutions that are about to shift. Guess what? Your money, your employees' time, your resources, which means you're going to underserve something else in your business. You see this happening? Keep going. Next slide. Oh, yeah, we're there. Go ahead. Next, keep going.
Many of us have been taught that solving problems is how we add value.
So remember when you were in school, when you solve problems, what happened? You got rewards, right? Solve this problem. Oh, you're so smart. Solve this problem. Oh, my God. It's time for you to graduate. Solve this problem. You know, you should go to Cal Berkeley. Solve this problem. Oh, my God, you solve this problem? You know, you should go for your master's degree. Then solve this problem. You've been in this problem-solving routine for almost all your life. But running a company is not problem-solving. That's why a lot of smart people work for business owners. Keep going.
We've been taught our whole lives to solve problems, but when it comes to defining problems, we have less experience.
No experience in defining problems. Keep going.
Things are often uncertain. We seldom have all the information. Sometimes there are competing ideas about what the problem is, competing proposals to solve it, and then lots of interpersonal friction. So we're much less comfortable defining problems and solving them.
So real quick, solving them is easier than defining. Defining is much harder. You know why defining problems are harder? There's really ever one causation for any problem. I'm talking about almost unheard of. Anytime you have a problem in your business, it's really one causation. But guess how we talk? You know what the problem is? You know what the problem is? So our communication works against our problem solving. There's no, you know what the problem is? It's the beginning of a journey of discovering multiple intersections of causation that cause this single problem. I want you to understand that. So it's not simple like, you know, because that's barbershop talk, right? You know what the problem is? Now you're making choices again because you're trying to make it simple. It's called irreducibility. You reduce the problem so much to the point you're no longer valuable enough to solve the problem. You're back to choice game. Keep going.
So we're much less comfortable defining problems and solving them, and the social default uses that discomfort. It encourages us to react instead of reason in order to prove we're adding value. Just solve a problem.
Stop right there.
Problem.
Stop right there. So, remember I told you the number one problem, one of the biggest problems I've seen since teaching this class is most people don't feel like they're good enough, right? So when you're starving to add value, I want to be that person, I want to be smart, I want to run my business, I want to be successful, you will rush to solve a symptom over defining the problem. Because defining the problem requires a lot more thinking. It requires almost a lot more pausing, a lot more thinking. Like when I go bike riding, you do realize that I'm solving so many problems when riding my bike. It seems like I'm just, if you observe me from the outside, you think, nah, just walking around like he just floating. What the fuck wrong with that dude? I'm solving problems so we don't go back. I can get as real busy at my office just doing the same shit over and over and over and over, and we're not moving forward. I focus on what is the problem we're here to solve internally? What is the problem we're here to solve for these clients? And what are we doing? Are we in alignment with the solution? Are we in alignment with the symptom? And so a lot of times it's easier for you as well as you feel better about, here's the key word, you feel better by acting on a quick solution than you do solving the problem. I remember when I sat down with people, when I tried to tell people about the stuff they were doing for black businesses with trash. And I would explain to them in the most articulate way the word trash, right? I would even separate T from R and just explain to them everything you're doing is trash. And you would see them almost like, I don't want to go back. If this is not the solution, then what do we do then?
Yes.
I don't want to be in that
Yes.
space.
Yeah.
That hurts me.
Yeah.
Well, we do that all the time.
Yeah.
Because what do we do is really a level of going, stepping really far back and going, what are all the options here? What are all the causations? And the reason I can't get to the options is because I haven't never taken ownership of my ownership. Remember I said, it's your problem? You didn't cause it, but it's your problem now. So if you take ownership, your brain is starting to look at all the causations, which then will reward you over time with multiple options. But if you constantly blame other people, then that's a voided space for you, and that's a scary space. It's easier for you to say, well, Shabisha sounded really good. Let's just go with what she said. And then I can look good in the office to the rest of y'all by just doing that really, really well. I can even get a promotion and get paid really well and walk around and say, I'm the head of marketing, and then go in front of other people, tell other people I know a lot about marketing because I get really paid really, really well for solving symptoms in a company where I really never solve a problem. Symptom employees is a thing. There's people right now who work their ass off and they're the master of symptoms. They ain't solved the problem yet. Keep going. Okay. Okay. What, did you finish that? Did you finish that one? Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's go. Okay. Go next one.
The result: organizations and individuals waste a lot of time solving the wrong problem.
Waste a lot of time. Keep going.
It's so much easier to treat the symptoms than find the underlying disease.
Come on.
To put out fires rather than prevent them, or to simply put things into the future. Punt things into the future.
Here we go. Pay attention to this. You're not solving problems. You're making choices. You're attacking symptoms. You're not analyzing deep enough to get to the problems. You're taking your wittiness and mistaking that for analytical intelligence. You don't have reasoning skills. You're witty, right? You remember the classes. Some things ring true to you. You feel good about some things that were said in class, but you don't own this shit. So the problem comes to your table, and the smoke is gone by the time you finish working on it. But the fire was never put out. And now over time, these fires are starting to pop up all over the place. And now it feels like your life is just closing on you and you're overwhelmed and you're so damn busy because that problem is just a fire that you smothered for the moment. I remember I set a fire to my kitchen and I put the fire out. This is about 15, 20 years ago. I put the fire out. And I called the fire department because I didn't know it was going to be able to put it. My neighbor came down and I screamed fire because the fire was, I was trying to throw water. The fire was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And this sister, she was like a track star. And all I remember her she busted the glass in the middle of the hallway and she flew past me. It's like a movie because she's like a flash. And she flew past me and also was and all the white powder went all over my house. Fire gone. So I'm thinking, fire department gets there. I'm like, hey, we good. She flew in the house. Track star. Bad chick. Fire gone. They's like, nah, we gotta cut your walls open.
Yeah.
And they found out the walls was smoking, and if they would have left, the building would have caught on fire. Right? This is how you're solving problems in your life right now. You think you're putting the fires out because you have this traumatic impact. And guess what's happening? You just got a whole bunch of fires that gonna keep popping later on. Now your life is out of control. You feel like you're just being pulled all over the place. You're stressed out. Now you tell everybody, I'm so stressed out. You need to give me space. I'm going through a lot of, you don't have to do what I'm going through my job. It's so crazy out here. It's not crazy. You just not making decisions. You don't know how to solve problems. You don't even define your problems to take ownership of the problems to solve the problem. And now your life is hectic as fuck and you're broke because you never solved the fucking problems in your life. They're compounding. They're weighted on your shoulder. You drinking and smoking every night because guess what? You never owned your problems. I want y'all to see this shit. Your relationship is messed up. Your sex lives are excuse me, young man. Your sex lives are messed up. Because I got too many problems. Y'all got too many problems. No, you don't. Mm-hmm. You're a poor decision maker and you have no ownership. If you do that, guess what? Your life will change so fast, it will blow your mind. But you can't see it because look, your brain is a super brain. Everybody that can hear my voice has a super brain. Everybody has a super brain. Nobody in this room. Got my glasses. Stop. These glasses smart. They're talking to me. Okay. Everybody that's reaching my voice has a super brain. But if you give your brain the wrong problem to solve, it's a dumb brain. It's because you're redirecting your resources to the wrong source. It's not that you're stupid. Even if you don't have a college degree, it's not that you're stupid. You just keep looking at the symptoms, and then you feel like I work. As soon as I dig a hole, more dirt falls in because you're a symptom machine, not a problem solver. Keep going.
The problem.
You start with the problem with this approach.
Yes, the problem with this approach is that the fires never burn out; they flare up repeatedly. And when you punt something into the future eventually arrives.
All right, baby.
We're busier than ever at work.
Come on now.
But most of the time, what we're busy doing is putting out fires. Fires that started with a poor initial decision made years earlier.
Come on.
Which should have been prevented in the first place.
Come on.
And because there are so many fires and so many demands on our time, we tend to focus on just putting out the flames.
Stop. You made bad decisions for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and they're showing up again. Now you so busy, now you stuck. Like a hamster on a wheel, now you just put down, now that's all you move. You just keep patching, you just keep making choices, you just keep putting out fires, and you don't realize you have never stopped and made one damn decision this whole damn time. Is this shit cold? How you could think you busy, how you could think you're smart, how you intelligent, how you effective, and you're just putting out the flame, but you're never stopping the fire. And some of the shit is 3 years back. Decisions you made 3 years ago, you thought, that's just eating your time up today. And if you would have just made the right decision, if you would have been taught how to make decisions back then, that problem would exist today. That means that's time given back to you. Freedom is a matter of good decision making. If you don't need white people to oppress you, you're oppressing yourself for your poor decision making. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Keep going.
Yet, as any experienced camper knows, putting out flames doesn't put out the fire. Since all our time is spent running around and putting out the flames, we have no time to think about today's problem.
So guess what? Now you so damn busy, you can't process, you can't think, you superficial shit. You just problem, solve, problem. And guess what? You're just a reactionary animal that solves nothing. All you're doing is just adding more problems for the future to only collapse the organization, collapse your business, collapse you, collapse your family. Because all you've been doing is just moving everything. You're just throwing everything for the future, and that shit will start landing faster and faster. Before you know it, you just feel like your life is taking. Then you say, I don't even know what I'm doing right now. I need a psychologist. I need to quit my business. I don't know what's going on. I have no control of my life. This is feel like I'm just being attacked. It's you. It's you. Is that shit cold? You got a summarized question? Go ahead. I'll give somebody start a microphone. Look at it. Just say like, oh, my bad.
And maybe we come back to this at the end, but as I'm listening to you say this, there's a little bit of a sad feeling for me because in business and also outside of business, I know so many people who could use this. They don't understand that this, what you're saying, is the reason why they're having the experience they're having. But this is talking to the converted, quote unquote, right? We're here willing and able to listen. How are you broaching these kinds of topics to people who have not maybe, I don't want to say it haven't been exposed because we haven't been exposed, right? We're getting new exposure, but I think you get the point of what I'm saying. If this is not in your realm of understanding, where are you landing this?
So remember I said last week, emergence, culture matters, right? I remember I said this whole thing is a cultural thing, and from this culture, we'll have ideas that will flow back and forth that will allow us to grow faster than everybody else. Unfortunately, it's not our choice to make. Like we have to build structures and systems so we can have cultural enrichment, but we first have to get it for ourselves to provide that. Because a lot of times you tell people it's not going to translate. But when you build things that have reinforcing ideas or a certain level of cultural heightened culture, these ideas can be taught through a cultural system, right? If I'm eating, living, sleeping in this cultural system that's also educating me a certain kind of way, these things can be bled into the culture. But what happens is that, because think about this, hip hop is doing a wonderful job. The opposite way of emerging. The number one causation of young people deaths in America today is gun violence. And black people, number one reason, and they were the highest percentage in that group of all races, and most of our causation is homicide. hip hop is doing a good job. So one of those things that has to happen, that's why it's so important that when you're a business owner, you don't build to have gold and jewelry and money. That's just easy to get. If you think money is your main one focus, you're really suffering and you're really unintelligent to what's happening. The number one goal is to impact others. And if you're not impacting others, I'm not sure if you understand the game you're playing. It's almost a selfish game becomes a dangerous game to play. Because at some point you'll get to the end result because you haven't thought it out and you realize there's no goal at the end of those goddamn out. All it is just emptiness. But what gives you the true goal is I can wake up every day and my life is impacting other people's lives, then I'm being fully rewarded. But this running around with money for the sake of money, I think that's the loss. That a lot of people try to become entrepreneurs just to have money to solve their own problems, not realizing, no, you're trying to gain power to solve other people's problems. Keep going, where are we at?
We have no time to think about today's problems, which can create the kindling for tomorrow's fires.
So, think about that. Now you're in a routine of choices, and then we talk to everybody around you. They talk choices. Everybody's talking choices. And when you try to talk solutions, everybody like, I ain't got time to hear all that. I just give me something to fix right now. You know, if you get in this class and want to become an entrepreneur right now, successful right now, because they're in a choice. They have a choice culture of, I'm going to look at this, read this, make money, and keep it rolling, and just keep making fast choices, and everything should work out for me. As opposed to, nah, bro, you have to think, and you have to change. And it becomes something different. All that superficial approach to this shit, the pop culture doesn't work in this world. It just doesn't work. You're going to have to think. You're going to have to ask questions. And every choice you think you got to make, you have to say, but what if? What's another angle? I think about this. You have to read other articles from different people and learn. You have to constantly stay curious. If you don't walk in a space of curiosity, I promise you, when it comes time to solve problems, you're empty. You have no tools. You have no insight. You don't even understand how the world works. Also, let's keep, because it's going to keep going. We got so much more to go. Let's keep going. Because next slide. Come on, let's go. Because we got shit to do. Come on.
The best decision makers know that the way we define a problem shapes everyone's perspective about it and determines the solutions.
Did y'all hear that? When you define a problem, you're going to reshape the perspectives so your intelligence works within a perspective. That means you don't just come in there with some bland perspective. When you define a problem, your job as a leader is change the perspectives so you can harness all those mental brains to think within a new perspective. It's almost like change the lens they're going to use to think about the problem. So now they can contribute to rich as hypothesis on a solution. You guys get that? But a lot of times your simple ass perspective is what's betraying your ability to solve the problem. Your job is to constantly shift perspectives, shift paradigms, learn to think from different. Okay, for example, you'll say white people did this to us. What's their perspective? What was their perspective at the time? If you understand their perspective, then you understand what was the perspective of the innocent bystander, the onlooker, the government, Then you start understanding, oh, this is how the system works. Okay, if I want to solve the problem, it's not over here. It's actually way the fuck over here. But if you keep looking at that same story, because they didn't like us. They wanted to see us destroy us. They wanted to steal our secrets and just control their society, and they had no care for our life. And what solutions y'all have for that? Well, we just need to have a revolution. Okay, get them out. You're not getting nowhere. Keep going.
The most critical step in any decision-making process is to get the problem right.
Get the problem right. Once again, before you start trying to solve any problem, social justice, nonprofits, everybody with money, everybody trying to solve a problem in your business, family, any area where a problem arises, make sure you get the problem right. Go ahead.
This part of the process offers invaluable insight.
This is what Fight Team Media does for a living. We go in and we disrupt their perception of the problem. I literally was in a room full of a group of people, some of the smartest people. I promise you, these people, if I just sat in a room, at some point I look like my daughter. I don't get it. That's my daughter, my favorite word. I don't get it. But I was probably say that at some point because they are that intelligent. And at some point they start pointing fingers. And I realized, oh, you guys are losing control of the problem now. So I had to say, hey, You guys are in this space. Let me change your perspective. And when I change this perspective, you should just seen the flood of hypotheses that came from them. But when it was over here, they were overweighted with the emotions that tied to this false perspective. So get the problem right. Keep going.
Since you can't solve a problem
You don't understand. You can't solve a problem you don't understand. You can't solve. This is why you need to ask questions when you have a problem. Stop looking at a problem and go, I got a solution. That's you trying to project your value, not solve the problem. When any problem you ever face, become inquisitive. Ask as many questions as possible, because all you're doing is projecting, not listening. So as soon as you see a problem, investigate. Don't rush to show people you're valuable. Investigate. Investigate. Go.
Defining the problem is a chance to take in lots of relevant information.
Oh my God. Keep going.
Only by talking to the experts, seeking the opinions of others,
Seeking the opinions of others. Feedback to Kaja. This is where that feedback matters. Keep going.
hearing their different perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
and sorting out what's real from what's not, can the decision maker understand the real problem?
Mm-hmm.
When you really understand a problem, the solution seems obvious.
It gets hella easy. We put all this energy. So let me show you how you make a mistake. By you rushing to be a part of the symptoms, what happens is that you don't pour enough money, don't pour enough time and energy into the problem solving. Not realizing if you get the problem defining the problem correct, the solutions just flood the room. It's the easiest part. Quite often, why we struggle the most is because we have the wrong problem we're trying to solve. We're trying to solve a symptom, and symptom will have us confused. Because we're not satisfied. Something says we're not. You can almost feel like you're not satisfied if we do implement this solution. You feel like if you implement the solution, you don't really feel comfortable that it's going to work. But you know what? It's better than nothing, right? But when you have clarity on the problem, and I mean that takes a minute. I mean you have to slow down. Once you have clarity on the problem, all of a sudden solutions it's like you're super smart. It's that you're taking time, and to get there, it wasn't you was in a room as a mastermind meditating. It was you talk to others, you talk to experts, you got AI, you asked them a question about because now you have clarity on the problem. You're like, hey, when this happened, give me some of the reasons give me some of the causations of this problem here, right? Like you take time and just really get a plethora, and then you start to narrow it down to like, okay, it's one of these 3 or 4 or 5 categories. Then you narrow it down to boom, down to 2. Damn, I think this is the best. This is where I want to shoot my first shot at. Mm-hmm. And watch how you seem like you're moving from a different planet. This is what makes me seem like, oh, no, I'm not smart. I'm not fucking smart. I just do this all the time. I take my time and figure out what the problem is. Once I figure out what the problem is, I look like I'm a solution guy. I'm not. I promise you I'm not. There's still shit I'll be like, I don't understand that. Some books you give me like, I'm not going to read this. I don't know what they're talking about. Keep going. Next slide. Oh, go ahead. Summarize question.
Let's,
Yeah. I'll turn that down a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go.
let's just say that like you have a problem at work where you have multiple employees or at home. If they're not exposed to the way that you're asking us to think about it, by asking questions, are we actually going to get to the problem, or are we going to be
Yeah, I'm going to get to that method in a second. I'm going to get to
Okay.
that method on how to direct people in the room or spaces to be a part of the solution. Because everybody's part of the solution. From the dumbest person in the world to the smartest person in the world, every person is part of the solution. Yeah, but that's your control. You control all that. Their biases is your fault. Okay, next slide.
A handy tool for identifying the root cause of a problem is to ask yourself, what would have to be true for this problem not to exist in the first place?
Okay, stop. Write that down. That's a question you always ask yourself. What would have to be true for this problem not to exist in the first place? That's going to help you cut through a lot of those biases. These are tools. But it has to be true. You can ask this question you in a room full of people. It's a simple question you can ask, but you should ask this question second. I'm gonna show, this is second. I'll break it down in a minute how you do it, but this is the second question you should ask. But the first question you should ask yourself is, what has to be true for this problem not to exist? Okay, go ahead.
Identifying the root cause of a problem applies in business too. A company might think that its problem is getting too few new sales. So it marshals resources to get new leads. But what if getting new sales isn't the root of the problem?
Listen to this.
What if there's an issue with, say, the product itself? The root cause of any problem like this is customer satisfaction. And that's not necessarily the same thing as getting new customers. It could also be keeping existing customers happy.
So real quick, sometimes we're losing customers as fast as we can get customers, and then we focus on doing more marketing. We're not focusing on keeping the customers we have. Very common. So now it feels like your business is doing this all the time. You don't have no steady flow where you like make some investments and some long-term investments because you don't have a way to maintain what you have. So you'll never examine your product, your services, your touch points, anything that has to do with the customer. You're so busy analyzing how to get the new customer as how do you protect the ones you have. So you want to continue to grow, but sometimes we get almost focused. We only focus on what we want, not what we have. Keep going.
A mentor of mine once taught me.
This is important. Now listen, this is game.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. The way you define a problem changes what you see. A mentor of mine.
Wait. The way you define the problem changes what you see. This is important because you only can move on what you see. So if you define it wrong, you're going to see something totally different. Your intelligent brain will say, I see this, and then will articulate all this. So if your definition protects what you see. And if your brain lives in a dark skull. It has no access to the outside world. So now you're about to feed the brain this false information and you'll get a false solution. If you want an accurate solution, give the brain what it needs to solve the damn problem. Right? Go.
A mentor of mine once taught me that the best way to avoid finding the perfect solution to the wrong problem at work, when time allows, is to hold two separate meetings.
This is game. Go ahead.
One to define the problem and one to come up with the solution.
So I'm going to speed up a little bit. She's going to reread it in a second. Call everybody in the room and say to everybody, okay, answer to your, this is the answer to your, damn it. This is the answer to, I'm sorry, one of these classes in class. They grade on the streets. Tap them because I'm doing this. It's like, what the fuck? Okay, answer your question. You call everybody in the room and say, hey, listen, we'll have two separate meetings. It's going to be short. First problem, here's the problem we're facing. What is it that you personally know about this problem that nobody else in the room don't know about this problem? Otherwise, what you're going to have is people signaling back and forth, saying the same shit, preaching. Because at the end of the day, this is what you're preaching. We don't want to hear none of that shit. What do you know that nobody else in this room knows about this problem? After they work on that, you say, okay, meeting's over. I want to take a look at this information. Then you separate and come back and go, okay, so now that we define this is the problem or this is the symptoms or this is whatever we're looking at, and based upon this, I narrowed it down to these ideas. I want to hear what your thoughts are on the solutions. What happens is because once people have clarity on what problem is facing them, we kind of built an architecture of here's the problem and here are all the multiple causations. When you create a break in the meeting, it's the same break you need to create for yourself. Your brain will go from being emotionally overwhelmed by the problem to now going to solving the problem and having a solution. But if you try to solve it all in the same meeting, they're snagged, they're anchored in the past. Never forget that. All of us can be anchored in the past. So you got to give them a little room to breathe. I'm going to give you another game. Problem first hits your desk. Don't solve it. Don't solve it. Take it through a process of processing it first. If there's somebody around you that you know knows how to think, not a choice person, be like, yeah. Just, that's why you can't have a lot of superficial people in your circle. Call somebody in your circle and say, hey, here's a problem I'm having. They don't need to be scholars. They just need to be thinkers. They just need to think. Here's a problem I'm facing with, right? And then try to keep them in time. Like, this is my problem. And you articulate, you might say, because this person did this and this and this. They say, but what do you have to do with that? Then go for a short walk. These are major problems. Go for a short walk or something. Go to the gym. Take a nap. Go take a shower. And watch what your brain does. And that's the beginning of decision making. But if you react quickly, because you want to make somebody happy or please somebody or prevent anger or frustration or avoid some kind of emotional crash, you're back to making choices. That pause that you're going to provide going to make other people who observe you seem like you're insensitive, like you don't give a fuck. Because you don't back up and be like, okay, don't give an example. No, this just happened. The customer's hella mad. All right, I'm going to the gym. I'll see y'all in a minute. What the fuck is wrong with him? Why is he on a bike ride? This is crisis. Get off the bike ride. Tennille, okay, this is what we're going to do. Do A, B, C, D, 1, 3, 4, 5, go 7. You got that clarity. Okay, have Mashama call me. I'm going to tell him what I need him to do. How the fuck did your architecture all that? Because I let my brain go through the process. When the problem was first presented to me, I'm the least qualified because I'm the most invested. Right? So I have to first separate my investment from the problem. And many problems I've turned into opportunities because I've been able to reframe it and throw it back at the client. Client go, oh my God, you thought about me that way? It was a mistake. Yes, I did think about you that way. But I had time, I created space. That space is everything. You moving fast all the time is foolish. A person who moves quick all the time is a walking fool. I don't give a fuck how much education they got. They're a walking fool. You got to know how to slow down, speed up. Slow down, speed up. It's not always going fast, not always going slow. It's a combination of both. And it's all strategical. And to the outside world, the workers, they ain't going to understand. They look at you like, what the fuck is going on? But somehow we just keep climbing new mountains. I don't understand it. This is why you can't be side by side with the workers being just as busy as they are. Because guess what? You're just making choices. You're no longer running your business. Running your business is making the decisions, not the choices. Keep going.
What do you know about this problem that other people in the room don't know?
Mm-hmm. That's the question you ask everybody. And what you know, that's the first question you ask them. Somebody take a picture of that, make sure you got that line. That's a line you ask when you bring that team together who don't buy into your idea, who you're trying to use them to help you solve a problem. What do you know about this problem that other people don't know? You go to a mentor. What do you know about this problem that other people would not know? What you want to do is you want to get people to not just preach to you and play this emotional rhythm, but what you want them to do is participate in helping you form ownership of the what problem. Next slide.
Creating space between the definition of a problem and the solution to it works at a personal level too.
There you go. This is what I was talking about earlier. Keep going.
Give yourself time to get clear on what the problem is before you jump into solving it.
So you see what that? So give yourself time. I promise you, don't. If you don't give yourself time, all you're going to do is assume the past is the future. Go.
More often than not, you'll discover that your first attempt to define the underlying issue is rarely the most accurate.
So your first impulse is really the most accurate. When you first have a problem and you've had that first impulse, it's really accurate. So imagine if you've been moving your whole life with quick responses, getting reward, and we've been subsidizing failure because at the end of the day, you have been producing inaccurate results. That's why a lot of nonprofits suck. They're the most inaccurate fucks I've ever met in my life. Go ahead, keep going.
Safeguard.
Now, what's safeguard? Safeguard is things you can do to protect you from your defaults. You're not going to escape your defaults. Let me be very clear. Defaults are not meant to be escaped. You have to build safeguards because you were designed for survival, and that's the only thing your brain cares about. Are we going to survive? Are we going to eat? Are we going to live? Are we going to protect ourselves? I don't give a fuck about no car, no money, I don't give a fuck about your husband or wife. Are you going to be alive tomorrow? So in order for you to get what you want to get and move at a different rhythm than everybody else, you have to provide safeguards. Otherwise, when you get emotional, as we all will get, you will more likely become based upon your default. So you design safeguards to protect you from yourself. Keep going.
Use the test of time. Test whether you're addressing the root cause of a problem rather than merely treating a symptom.
Come on.
By asking yourself whether it will stand the test of time.
Come on.
Will this solution fix the problem permanently? or will the problem return in the future?
Always ask yourself that question. If we do what we do right now, okay, for example, there's an example in the book where he talked about the SPCA was receiving this money to get cats off, protect the animals off the streets, right? And first they were just trying to build more and more Kindles for the animals. And they realized as they build a new Kindle, another animal was coming. And they said, wait a minute, we're solving the symptom, not the problem. So they went back and analyzed and said, wait a minute, where are these animals coming from? How do we slow the rate of animals coming to the program? They realized that a lot of people were going through economic challenges and they were giving up their pets. So they said, what if we just invest, we would save more money by investing in keep helping them, like helping them get food or shots for their pets or other type of supports for their pets than buying new buildings with new Kindles. Mm-hmm. So they were able to take a lot of money that was coming in and actually cut the cost tremendously by getting it. So when adults would come in and go, hey, I'm trying to give you my dog or my cat, they're like, would you like to keep it? Yes, but okay, what's going on? What's the challenge? And they provided that type of support, and they were able to run their business totally different. So a lot of times you can respond to a symptom and think you're solving the problem because it feels good, and everybody can feel, every day you can get rewards from doing this shit that makes you feel good. Everybody's applauding, like, oh my God, you could have found 12 new dogs to put in the Kindles, and you got to find them homes tomorrow. You're amazing. Not realizing that at the end of the day, it's all symptom work. Does the problem still exist tomorrow? And so that's a question you have to ask yourself. And when you pause that moment, and that sometimes that's a discussion with other people. That's why, like me and Mashama as my business partner, these are conversations we have behind the scenes all the time. Are we solving the problem, or are we just addressing the symptom? Keep going.
If it seems like the latter, then chances are you're only treating a symptom.
There you go. Choices. Go ahead.
Short-term solutions might make sense in the moment,
Short-term solutions can make sense in the moment. Keep going.
but they never win in the long term.
They never win in the long term. Keep going.
You feel like you're moving forward when you're actually just going in circles.
How many of you guys done something for so long and it feels like you're just in a circle? And when you first started, it feels like you're moving forward, right? Even when you're halfway through the circle, it's still like you're moving forward, right? 3/4 of the circle, you still like you're moving forward till one day you realize you're back to where you started. Mm-hmm. And now life feels like the next 10 years is just more the same old shit until you die. It's you. It's your approach. Keep going.
People gravitate toward them because finding a short-term fix signals to others that they're doing something.
Stop. Press secretary. Read that line again. Think about the press secretary, which number one job is to protect your relationship to the group, right? And the press secretary says what?
People gravitate toward them because finding a short-term fix signals to others that they're doing something.
So if you don't feel like you're good enough or you feel like your value's on trial, just getting a short-term fix makes other people like you and think you're dope. They start to admire you. Oh my God, you're doing so good. You're amazing. Or you should talk to Nana can solve problems. Go have him speak at all these different programs because he solves all these kind of problems. How many times have you seen somebody get caught in a hype cycle? Hype cycle is when your business takes off because hype is driving it, and then the hype ends, and your business doesn't plummet. But when it plummets, the business actually starts staying, but it's a slower climb. But a lot of people get caught in a hype cycle, and they're making all these short-term decisions and these impulsive decisions, and then when the hype cycle is over, they realize they never made a decision. They were just making choices this whole time. That's some cold shit. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, it's like you can get addicted to making fast choices because it adds value to you. Your ego's getting hits. Keep going.
That's the social default at work.
Social default. Keep going.
It fools people into mistaking actions for progress.
Wait. It fools people. So now, watch this. So you're getting caught up in the people acknowledge you for making choices and putting out the fire. Mm-hmm. And it's fooling you because you're getting accolades so much all the time. So you're getting awards, you're getting titles, you're getting brand, you're getting all this status, these status points, right? And now it's manipulating you, making you feel like you're mistaking action for solving the problems or for progress. I'm very progressive. No, you're full of actions, but you're not progressive. Watch this. You're full of action, but you're not progressive. You're not progressive. You work your ass off, and you still not progressive. Huh? You're exhausted. You spent a hell of money last year. You invested a hell of money, and you're still not progressive. Have you ever heard this before? This ain't something we talk about. Everybody's talking this action shit all the time. Yeah, man, I'm be busy. I'm running this. I got this going. I got this. I got flip. I'm just running shit. I'm hustling out here. I'm doing it. Yeah, you're full of action, but you're not progressive. I want y'all to see how cold this shit is. How some of you guys are busting your ass to just get to the beginning, get in a circle again. Keep going.
The loudest, it fools people into mistaking action for progress, the loudest voice for the right one, and confidence for competence.
That's most self-help gurus. That's how they move. You think they are hella just got knowledge. When the last time you seen a self-help guru teach this kind of class? I challenge you. But you're mistaking confidence. You assume that his confidence represents competence because, he is really firm when he said this, and I know these things. And matter of fact, I sat with the great gurus before me. And then he has a great voice, very articulate, very charismatic. Hello there, Jasadi. I see you drinking water and you've lost weight. You look amazing. Did you realize that my great ancestors told me that somebody like you would come in my life and told me to share this message with you? And I usually wouldn't share it, but Jasadi, that water moved me. Shut the fuck up. Next slide.
Also, I would say a good portion of podcasts.
Oh yeah, a lot of podcasts do the same thing. Same bullshit. And you would never, if you listen, if you don't know how to hear, you don't know how to hear and you're not doing your work, you'll follow a lot of people that say a lot of trash. You know how many times people have sent podcasts to me? Not Shabish is my amazing podcast. But other people send me podcasts and I'm never going to listen because I'm like, are you fucking serious? You got trapped by their confidence. And you thought it was competence. Umar Johnson is confidence over competence. Oh, okay, fuck it. Y'all don't believe it? Keep learning from me. You'll learn. Keep going. You'll learn you something.
Time eventually reveals short-term solutions to be Band-Aids that cover deeper problems. Don't be fooled.
When a long time ago, I used to call somebody in this classroom. I said, stop patching. Stop patching. And he'd be like, man, you been leaving the fuck alone. Stop patching. But that's what happens. You be fooled by those patching. You really think you're making progress until one day you wake up and you're like, fucking exhausted. Let me check my bank account. What the fuck? Are you serious? It's no way to where I work that fucking hard, and that's the number at the end of this week. You got to be fucking kidding me. How do I get so many texts on my phone and I don't get that many numbers in my fucking bank account? What the fuck are we looking at? Keep going.
You can put your energy into short-term solutions or long-term solutions, but not both.
So look, every time you put your energy to a short-term solution, you're depriving the long-term solution. Be very clear about this. So every time you do make these choices, you're depriving your decisions. Don't think you don't get to go back to home for free. You're gonna pay for this shit. Keep going.
Any energy that's channeled toward short-term solutions depletes energy that could be put into finding a long-term fix.
And you need a lot of energy for long-term fixes. Go ahead.
Sometimes short-term solutions are necessary to create space for long-term solutions. Just make sure you're not putting out flames in the present that will reignite in the future. When the same problem returns again and again, people end up exhausted and discouraged because they never seem to make real progress. Extinguish the fire today so it can't burn you tomorrow.
So that means that you could be solving a lot of problems every day. That's really because based on choices, you're putting out these little flames, but what you realize that eventually the flames fire back up and they start to compound, and now you kind of feel like, I hate my life, I hate this business, I think I want to change my company, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And it's not the business, it's not the company, it's your decision making, your choice game. Keep going. Next slide.
How to discover possible solutions. Once you're clear on the problem, it's time to think of possible solutions.
Come on now.
Ways of overcoming the obstacles to get what you want. The way to come up with possible solutions is by imagining different possible futures.
Stop. That's so much game. Imagine different choices tied to different futures. And that will help you start to almost like visually map and have more ownership. It's almost like that's a natural way to get to second order thinking. Keep going.
Different ways the world could turn out. One of the most common errors at this stage of the decision-making process is avoiding the brutal realities.
So, a couple things. This is one that I promise you. This is one that's so powerful. Okay, and we're almost done. First of all, before we get to the brutal realities, you can't be over anchored to imagine the future. Otherwise, all you're doing is just looping. Right? You also have to practice futuristic thinking on your free time when there's no problems. Like ask yourself, what ifs? All the time. When somebody tells you, if they do this, this is going to destroy society, go, how could it benefit society? Always do that. Always look at the future is never a destination of bad or good, a destination of possibilities. So always look at even if every man start wearing a dress, it means this. Go, okay, well, how could it work for the future? Not saying that you would need to change what you agree with. It's just training your brain to see alternate realities. Learn to see alternate realities in everything you see. Ask yourself, what if this didn't happen? What does that mean? Now, some things will have horrible responses. Well, how could it work? How could it not work? Why is this good? Why is that necessarily bad? Not that you don't play devil's advocate in dialogue. I'm saying learn to play futuristic thinking in your own mind. Learn to think past your past experience. Don't make your past experience your future outcomes. Otherwise, if you try to think in the future, all you're going to do is just wrap that fucked up past into in the future and go, it's fucked up no matter how I look at it. It's not. It's not. Imagine yourself dying some days, and what would the world move like when you're dead? I know this sounds crazy, sounds morbid, but it's that harsh reality you need to connect to get there. Imagine when you die, your grandchildren, who will they be, and realize how much you don't have power. Then you'll realize a lot of shit you believe is just make-believe, masking itself as reality. Like you got to literally disrupt your natural patterns of thought to have access to the future. Otherwise, if you just continue to look at the past and make judgments and play this, there's a difference between, I'm talking about, I think next class I'm talking about Lincoln, President Lincoln. There's a difference between being moral and I think it's moral and morality. Not morality. I think that might be the word. It's a word where you push morals on other people and you project it and you say this is the way the world should be. And the problem is that becomes a trap for you.
Is it righteousness?
No, it's a form of, it's not, it's tied to the word moral, but it's moralism or more something, but I got to look it up. But it's a way of thinking about, it's more or less like, it's okay for the society to be moral, but it's not okay for society to exercise morality. Because then what happens is you're telling people, if you don't act like this, you're not acceptable, or you need to be like this. And then when you start to do that kind of stuff, what happens is that you start to eventually be careful. Okay, I'm not going to do it. I'll stay here. So anyway, practice the ideas of play with death. Play with where were you before you, what was the world before you were born? What was happening before your mom was born? Literally let your brain break away from this security that is using to grab reality to stop you from imagining the future. Otherwise, all you're doing is just playing old records. Talk about new music. I just played it louder, so that's a new song. No, it's the same song, just louder. Keep going.
One of the most, that's a duplicate, never mind.
Okay, good, next slide, next slide.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, here we go. Now, this is cold. Read this whole thing. Now, listen, stay with me, because this is going to be, when you get this, it should hit you in the chest. Go.
In his book, Good to Great, author Jim Collins tells the story of his interview with Admiral James Stockdale. During the Vietnam War, Stockdale was the highest-ranking U.S. military officer at the notorious
Holo prisoner.
Hollow prisoner
Of
of
war
war camp, sarcastically dubbed the Hanoi Hilton.
Mm-hmm.
He was tortured over 20 times during an 8-year imprisonment and given no release date, no prisoner rights, and no certainty whether he would survive to see his family again. When Collins asked Stockdale about his fellow prisoners who didn't survive the camp, the admiral singled out the optimist.
No,
Oh,
wait. He said the people who didn't survive. What he's implied right here, the people who didn't survive the camp were suffering from being an optimist. Okay, stay with me. The people who didn't survive the camp were so busy being an optimist, that's why they didn't survive it. Now go.
Oh, they were the ones who said, we're going to be out by Christmas. And
Okay, so let me show you. Oh, we're going to do good next year. We're going to be really good in business. I did a business plan. We're going to be really good. Watch this. Keep going.
Oh, they were the ones who said, we're going to be out by Christmas, and Christmas would come, and Christmas would go. Then they'd say, we're going to be out by Easter, and Easter would come, and Easter would go. And then Thanksgiving, and then it would be Christmas again. And they died of a broken heart. After a long pause, he turned to Collins and said, this is a very important lesson.
Very important. Keep going.
You must never confuse faith that you will prevail in the end, which you can never afford to lose, with the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality, whatever they might be. Collins called this combination of faith in prevailing with the discipline to confront brutal facts the Stockdale paradox.
Come on.
He says he still carries with him the mental image of Stockdale admonishing the optimist. We're not getting out by Christmas. Deal with it.
It's important for when you get in business, you have faith in where you want to go. But you have to separate that faith from the fucking reality. If you can't separate those two, that's what you'll be a victim of. Your faith will kill you. I believe we're going to be here, and I have hope, and I really dream, and I think they're going to be successful, and I believe this, I believe that. Okay, but here are all my fucking challenges. And if I don't take this shit serious, I'm never going to get past point A, point B. If you don't separate those two, if you let the faith becomes your lens, you look at the lens of faith going, no, if I just keep doing this next year, I should be able to, in 3 years, double my business. I should be safe tomorrow. There should be nothing called competition. There should be no trend changes. There should be no market upsetting. There should be no disease that pop in society. I should be okay. If I can take out this loan, I can pay this loan for the next 10 years, I should be okay. Everything should, if things go right, and this is falling in place and this falls, because now your faith is directing your strategy. You see the difference? Strategy has to be tied to a brutal reality. Like, get as brutal as you can about the world you live in. I can die tomorrow. Competition's coming for me. This roof can collapse. Motherfucking, this thing over here can break and the owner won't pay for it, and I don't have enough money to put them in court. So I need to have that money ready to go. A trend may change, and even though I have the right solution, people are now in social justice. They want to hear shit I gotta say. So in that period of time, how do I still keep my business going forward? Because the public doesn't necessarily always the public you're serving won't naturally march to always the truth. They may be marching to a distortion. Can my business survive a distortion? Can my business survive if this part of the neighborhood goes bad because of crime? Right? What are all the challenges I'm dealing with in this city at this time today that's that serious? I want to make money for my kids. What if my kids don't give a fuck? What if my child decides she's going to do drugs? What the fuck am I here for? Like, you got to have that harshest, coldest, realest reality, because what you're doing is you're then going to start working on strategy on, like, if that happens, I can cut here. So now people are like, well, how do you move so fast in your strategy world? Because you've been working on that because you're honest with reality. The faith person gets hit. They become overwhelmed with emotion, and guess what? They make default choices, and they do the same shit, and they back to where they started. You ever seen somebody like for the hood get hella money, and their life is doing good, and then they start telling themselves these stories of why they're successful, and life hits them the way it's supposed to, like a rapper or basketball player or anybody else, is because they're living based upon faith. And then reality hits them, and they never sat down and confronted it. Hey, basketball dudes usually don't have, this is 10 million, but this is 10 million to my retirement, as opposed to you making 20 million over your day-to-day job over time. So this ain't a lot of fucking money. So even though they just said 10 million, I ain't buying shit. I'm investing right away because this got to make me some more money. Otherwise, I'm not going to make it in my 30s and 40s and 50s. But no, you don't do that. You caught up in the faith. This happens all the time in everybody's business where you're talking to me from your faith, not harsh reality. When you sit down with a strategist, you got to have to own the harsh reality, not the faith. When you go in front of an investor, talk faith if you want. They look at you like, okay, now that you're done with that spiel, how in the fuck is this going to make me some money? Mm-hmm. And this is what's down the street, and are you designed to get past that? If you're not, you can't show me you can't get past that, fuck off. Next person, please. Mm-hmm. Like, this is the world you're living in. Like, faith tells you a story about some black person in the past. Oprah made successful, and Black Wall Street. Even the negative is faith, right? What do you say is, okay, at the end of the day, why would a white person try to stop me economically in today's society? What's the benefit? And if they do try to stop me, what's the difference between anybody trying to stop me? Have I not designed my system to navigate whatever the obstacle is? Obstacles is part of my game. So let me identify all the types of obstacles I'm dealing with now, tomorrow, next week, next month, and let me start developing my martial arts skills to navigate all these fucking obstacles. So it seems to you I'm just going fast, but really I'm doing this the whole fucking time. Because I accepted my reality. As opposed to, I'm a good person, I have a good business, and I should be able to become successful. No, the fuck you shouldn't. Harsh reality says, I don't give a fuck about who you are. I don't give a fuck about your dreams. I don't give a fuck about your kids. I don't give a fuck about your family. I don't give a fuck about the disease you're dealing with. I don't give a fuck about nothing. Either you perform or get the fuck up out of here. And in your mind, you know what you say is, no, it should be this way. Oh, and even the fucking news, fuck them fuckers. The news keep talking about, the news keep saying, oh, this business died, and I'm so sad. Fuck them. Fuck them. Because as they die, guess what? You're on now. That's what you gonna do. If you die, fuck you. You on there. What you gonna do? That's the world you live in. But you want to play this. But it should be like this. They've been around for 20 years. I don't understand why you won't be around. Sears is gone for a reason, motherfucker. Bye. Fuck Sears. Fuck Catwells, Montgomery Wars, and motherfucking Woolworths. Bye. Bye, Kmart. Get behind them motherfuckers. Because guess what? You didn't make the right decisions. And Target said, guess what? I'm going to figure this shit out. That's the game you playing. Coca-Cola been riding this whole time talking about, y'all think this is about some other shit. Coca-Cola's been like, oh, y'all drinking this right now? We got some of the finest water that has no calories. You want this too? We know you already, so we know how to adjust our product to stay. But there's some motherfuckers like RC talking about, but we make cola though. Bye. Get your bitch ass up out of here. That's the world you live in. All this, it should be this, and they should care about who I am, and I'm a black person. Shut the, bye. Get your broke black ass, bye. If you want to be a rich, successful black person, you're going to have to move and adapt. Move and adapt. Move and adapt and deal with the heart. Have faith. You need faith to get you up in the morning and keep you going. But when you work on your strategy, be grounded. No one gives a fuck about you. Like, the only reason they give a fuck about you because you're performing. Stop performing. They give a fuck about that person now. Because some of those people ain't even really fucking with you like that. They just trying to get what they need from you because they feel like if by hanging around you, they can grow. Don't mistake that with they love me, they care. They don't give a fuck about you. Go ahead, Kaj. I'll give you a second. Go ahead. Summarize.
Do you think I have been seeing, and I put something about it in a Facebook group, but like a community countering to that message when people get up with their story of business failure or a poor showing, and then they're able to crowdfund $10,000 in 3 days. So it's almost...
That means nothing. That's short term. That's long term. Play the long term game. Means nothing. That's just another fool believing in another fool. Bye. Don't give a fuck about you.
I know that, but I'm saying sometimes that can convince people
right,
the opposite.
Because they got the faith confusing reality. Once you have, that's why motherfuckers who went to like programs that was giving them 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, Motherfucker, are you crazy? You are trash. If you're not generating, I don't give a fuck how much money I give you. I'm only going to give you so much anyway. If you can't generate profits, no one cares. I'm keep that shit 100. If you're not growing your business, I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry. Look, the beautiful black woman comes in front of you, who's cooked for the community for years. Oh my God, she's such a wonderful person. She starts a business, and everybody's like, oh, Big Mama started her own business. Oh my God, we need to support her. But her business is trash. But the Big Mama around a block that you didn't hang out with, she starts her business and kills it. And then you learn about that Big Mama, and you replace your emotions of her, and you shift it to her, and you forget about, this old Big Mama here. Because you know what? You should have did your business right. Sorry, bye, I'm over here. Mm-hmm. The reality is, that's how life works. You're not that fucking special. If you want to be special, do special shit. If you don't do special shit, you're not special. Stop asking motherfuckers to treat you special. I don't give a fuck what your pronoun, what your color is, what your gender, what your height, what your body size, what your shapes. I don't give curvy, not curvy. You ain't special until you do special shit. Simone, what's the girl? The
Biles.
motherfucker is raw as fuck. Because she's been doing special shit for years. When she retired, she's a special shit motherfucker. And some of y'all want to get treated like her ain't did shit. Are you serious? When they asked Simone, they said, Simone, why are you so good? She said, practice. Meaning, I worked hard as fuck for this. And some of y'all want that, and that girl's, she's giving up hella shit to get where she is, and y'all giving up nothing besides a drink. Go ahead. Summarize.
Question from this and something that was taught in a previous class. So what is the difference between this and like being grounded with reality? And one of the lessons, maybe it was this year or last year, when we were going over the Jewish guy that survived the camps, and he said almost the opposite of the people that survived were the people that had faith and believed that they would survive. I don't know if it's...
I think you got that distorted slightly.
You know how they like when Core had made the thing?
No, he didn't say...
Going down
No,
the line?
I think... Believing you can survive, it didn't say remove faith. It says when you remove grounding. When you start thinking, we're going to survive, and they're going to let us free, and they're going to take care of us, your naivety is about to fuck you over. The grounding of saying, this is what I'm looking at, this is the world I'm in, the rate of success is this percentage. If you're trying to run a company, you're joining the 1%ers, or 3%ers, or 2%ers. You're not joining the 50%ers. So why in the fuck you think you can do 50% lifestyle and have a 1% outcome? It's not possible. Once you realize that, then when you make those sacrifices, I don't need to hear the long-ass fucking Martin Luther King speech because you made a sacrifice. I made a sacrifice for this job. I sacrificed for my kids. Motherfucker, that's what you're supposed to do. Why are you giving me speeches about the fuck what you're supposed to do? It's because you thought having kids was an act of faith, not responsibility. You didn't think about what are the harshness of having a child. Not, you know what, I'm going to have a child, she's going to college, she's going to be successful, get married, she's going to have her own business, she might even have a recipe book and so I'm going on Thanksgiving, have dinner with my family. It's going to be beautiful. Did you say I have a child and she could be a hoe? She could be on San Paulo any day now. It's just real as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Can you say that? Otherwise, when she has hoish friends, and you don't see that hoish behavior because in your mind you're going, it doesn't matter because in the end, I believe my daughter, your daughter's sitting there watching BET Wars with you. You're like, that's okay. I believe my daughter. If you said the harsh reality, you're like, hell no. We're going on vacation. Tell Jimmy we're on vacation. Mom, we ain't going nowhere. We're on vacation, motherfucker. We gone. You ain't fucking with them no more. That's reality. It's harsh, but it's reality. Some of y'all raise children in fantasy world, faith world. I have faith you're going to be all right. Next slide. My shoe can't get stuck in there. Go ahead. Okay.
We all face difficult problems. The defaults narrow our perspective. They narrow our view of the world and tempt us to see things as we wish them to be.
That's it, right there. They narrow our view of the world and tempt us to see things as we wish them to be. Once you realize, when you finally crack this problem, that you move in this world from a space where you wish it to be, you're going to realize how much you haven't been seeing. Most of us are running around going, this is what I want to see, not what really exists. And once you learn to see what exists, you're going to realize this whole time you've been stuck in your head. I remember when I first started coming out of my space, and I still discover this all the time, like, oh, I really was over here thinking it's like this way. Or I felt it should be this way. None of that's just true. It's all what you want it to be. Go ahead, next one. Go ahead, finish reading. Go ahead.
Only by dealing with reality, the often brutal truth of how the world really works, can we secure the outcomes we want.
So, remember I said, if you're clear about the outcome, clear about the problem, you have a rich-ass solution. But if you in what the world should be way of seeing the world, guess what's wrong with your strategical thinking? It's magical. It's not real. It's just trash. And you get outcomes that fit your way of thinking. The world should be like this. We should be kings and queens. When did that happen? When most black people became kings and queens? When is the percentage when has there ever been 50% kings and queens of any race? So why the fuck are we keep talking like, yeah, what's up, king? And that's okay. If it's an act of faith, cool. But when we have a real conversation, all right, motherfuckers, some of y'all are hard workers. Some of y'all gonna be servants. And some of y'all, you know what you is. Okay, keep going.
The worst thing we can do with a difficult problem is resort to magical thinking.
What? To resort to what?
Magical thinking.
To what? Say it one more
Magical
time.
thinking.
Go ahead.
Putting our heads in the sand and hoping the problem will disappear on its own or that a solution will present itself to us.
My wife told me, she said, Nana, well, you know what I like about you? She said, what? She goes, when you have a problem, you just address it. You don't avoid it. Yeah. One, I don't need that shit to come back on me. I'm too busy. I want to pour all my energy to the shit. I want to grow my company. I don't want to spend time putting out dumbass flames and fires. Number two, by avoiding it, that's still a choice. Avoidance is a choice. I'm never gonna make that. It's like I will confront and I'm not saying every time I confront a problem I feel like, oh, I feel good. Sometimes I'm going, oh shit, here we go. All right, say man. Hey, and sometimes it can be like a disappointing. No, I'm not fucking with you no more. Oh fuck. But guess what? I didn't avoid it because a lot of times when they don't fuck with me anymore, it was already deteriorating. I got out before it cost me too much. Keep going.
The future is not like the weather. It doesn't just happen to us.
Come on.
We shape our future with the choices we make in the present.
Okay, the future doesn't happen to you. It's not like the weather. We shape our future by the decisions we're making in the present. The future is not like the weather. Because some of y'all move like the future is like the weather, like it's just going to happen to you. No, whatever's happening to you, what you're going through, you shaped it with your choices back here. You see that shit? So whatever life you're experiencing right now, it's some choices you made back here that you were hella confident in. You were fucking confident as fuck. I could have told you nothing else. Now now you're all humble. Nah, I just need to talk to you about something real quick. Fuck is wrong with you? Like, don't learn to see yourself in hindsight today. Try to become the future self. Look at yourself today. And go to tell yourself today, I am a dumber version of who I am tomorrow. So what am I doing today? How the fuck am I confident about any of this shit? If your life is exactly what you want it and you rolling, like you solving problems, shit's growing, you changing shit in community, you moving shit like parts and pieces and you're like, this shit is crazy, right? And you learning new shit, cool. But how the fuck are you like that? And you're like, okay, I'm going to Bank of America and make this little deposit. Okay, oh shit, nothing bounced. Thank you, Jesus. God is watching my back. No, God ain't watching your back. Them poor ass choices you making. Stop magical thinking. You're full of bad choices. God is the most blamed entity of the universe. God didn't want me to have that right now. God bless me. Take ownership back. Look at your choices. God got more responsibilities in your life. Keep going. Next one. Is it? Oh, you finished that one, right? Where did you go? Go back. By choices.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going. Next slide.
Wherever we are now is a reflection of the past choices.
Stop. Remember I said earlier in this class, wherever your life is right now, you created this shit. You are your decisions. You are your choices. It ain't nobody else. It ain't your mama, ain't your daddy, ain't your husband, ain't your wives, it ain't your kids, it ain't white people, it ain't race, it ain't genders, it ain't the opposite sex, it ain't the same sex. It ain't shit besides your choices. If you want your life to change, this is a serious fucking class for you. If you want to, look, leave here tomorrow and do the same default shit. Just do me a favor, avoid me. Find another motherfucker to listen to, because I don't have time no more. I don't have no time. I promise you, I'm getting worse and worse with this shit. I'm really bad. So, because when you start running those tapes, I can tell when you just push play and you sit back just running the tape looking at me like, Siri, you heard what I said? No, I don't give a fuck. You know, I don't give a fuck because I'm going to die soon. And I got so much work to do while I'm here. And you not about to steal my responsibility to black folks for your silly ass. Now, I created a class, big ass class. This is my give back. Now I got to go do the work because I can't keep talking about it. I got to do the work. Mm-hmm. So I ain't going to take 3 hours out of my time and be like, what are you going through, Kaja? Really? Oh my God. No, catch me here. This is what, no, real quick. You got 10 minutes before class, 15 minutes after class. I can give you some fast answers to start playing with hypothesis because I'm never going to give you the complete answer because I don't have the answer. All I have is how to attack the problem. And once I show you how to attack the problem, you have the answer. I don't. Keep going.
If we're in a happy relationship, we can look back and see the years of effort.
Come on.
Communication.
Come on.
Negotiation.
Come on. Little bit of luck. You know what I'm saying?
And possibly therapy that got us to this point.
Come on.
If we wake up bleary-eyed and muddle-headed, we can see how excessive drinking the night before disrupted our sleep. Mm-hmm. If we're operating a successful business, we can see how running lean at the right times, or perhaps doubling down when things weren't so certain, contributed to our current success.
Next slide.
Many people think that they're bad problem solvers, when in fact, they're bad problem anticipators.
You hear that? Real quick. You're not a bad problem. Most of y'all who are bad problem solvers, you just don't work on anticipating. It's like you want a street fight, but you don't take any martial arts. And you wonder why you keep getting knocked the fuck out. Man, I'm horrible at fighting. Do you ever practice fighting? Nah, but fuck a motherfucker up. Just because you got a beard don't mean you can fight. Let's go. Come on.
Most of us don't want to think about more problems. We have enough already. We think that before bad things happen, we'll get a warning, we'll have time to prepare, we'll be ready, but the world doesn't work that way.
Meaning that when you don't have a problem, you should be talking about deep shit. When you don't have problems and when you don't face deep shit, you should be working on talking about deep shit and how to solve problems that are not even your problems. You should be analyzing how shit works and how mechanisms and developing new mental tools of how to think about how to solve problems you haven't even faced yet. Don't go all alarms off only when you have a problem, but when you don't have a problem, you practicing escapism. I gotta relax, I gotta go to Napa, I'm gonna get my drink on, I'm gonna play me some video games, I'm gonna chill, I'm gonna go have some crazy sex, I'm gonna go eat some crazy food, and my life gonna be out. No, you practice, you gotta create space in your life to work on how to navigate complexities. So when they arrive, you're an excellent problem solver because you're always thinking about problems and unfold. You even read about how other people solve other problems. You want to read how people challenge. You want to read out different tools and different techniques, how they use less effort to solve the problem that took you 2 weeks to solve. They were able to solve in 2 minutes, or how they was able to prevent it because they made certain moves. You have to start to move in a space between the problems and the solutions. Don't move only when the problems or only when your ego or your values being called on or you're under threat. You are always processing. Even when you play a video game, I used to play StarCraft, early days. StarCraft taught me how to manage resources. When you want to go from here to here. Well, you got to think about how you're going to gain resources, invest resources, position resources, and then protect the resources. Right? And so a lot of my concepts of how I would move forward, StarCraft showed me flaws in my logic and my rationalization. Like, you don't need hella money to get that done. You just need to know how to do it right. Mm-hmm. So that means that you have to study when you're playing the game, try to figure it out and keep tinkering. I'm going to figure it out, tinkering. And then there's some things you can get for that because once again, when you make a mistake, you analyze it. When you go through problems, you analyze it. You're processing. When you every time you see a flaw in yourself, you analyze like, how could I have done better? That is all the necessary practice that makes you an excellent problem solver. Escapism and magical thinking makes you trash. This is why I hate pop culture. Like that, I'm talking about the real pop culture. I'm talking about, let's just be happy. Let's come. Like you ever seen pop culture? They walk in the club and they're like, "Girl, don't worry about nothing. Let's just drink and be happy." Fuck off. I want to sit down with some scholars and like get some nice food. We sit down and be like, "Hey man, so this is a problem I had to deal with today. How would you have approached it?" My mentor, my mentor, if he was walking in right now, he would state a problem he's either going to face or see somebody else face and go, "How would you approach it? How would you approach it? How would you approach it?" And that's all he ever talks about. Now he talks about stuff in between, but 90% of his conversation is about how he's his observation of a challenge in society. When me and Court talk, that's how me and Mashama talk, right? So when the problem arises, we built a tool. We got so many tools in our toolbox. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna use this tool. You use that. Okay, damn, we done. Shit. Like, damn. Well, I'm gonna go for another bike ride this weekend. I'm about to go on vacation, whatever. Damn, how you doing that? Because I'm working on my tools all the time, as opposed to spending all my time practicing escapism. All your time practice escapism? You always drinking, always smoking, always kicking it, always having sex, always hanging at the parties, going to everybody's events, you going to everybody. Ain't a baby shower you ain't been at. What the fuck? Every weekend is events. Are you fucking serious? You're running a company. You don't get to live that kind of life. That's when motherfuckers got a dead-end job, 9 to 5. They ain't going nowhere. They waiting for somebody to give them an opportunity. You're creating opportunities. What the fuck is wrong with you? Now you're waiting for the shit to just, like the weather. It's going to rain one day. I'm just waiting for the rain. When it rains, I'm going to be all right. Now, my Atlanta folks, it's okay to let it rain. Keep going.
Bad things happen to good people all the time. We get laid off without warning.
Yep.
Get into a car accident.
Without
Boss
warning.
comes into our office and lays into us.
Oh, without warning. You understand me? Pause. Go ahead.
A pandemic spreads throughout the world. No warnings. No time to prepare. Imagining what could go wrong doesn't make you pessimistic.
So when why I survived COVID so strong is because I was anticipating something happening to my business. I can't tell you what it was, but great grandmother always told me, you don't never live like tomorrow's gonna be a great day. You live like tomorrow could possibly have challenges. So I continued to put money away. When money came in, I slowed my spending down and kept my spending at the same level it was. We were doing like $200,000 total, right? And I still haven't changed that spending. So now I'm creating all these investment accounts now, and I put money away in all these different investment accounts. I have a plan for it, but if that plan doesn't work, I also have contingency, because guess what? Shit happens. And when shit happens, I don't get to predict it. I don't get to make the choice. It's just going to happen. And if I sit there and be like, I'm a victim, shut the fuck up. You should have knew something was coming. It's like if you're in a car and somebody slammed their brakes in front of you, you hit them, right? You're like, they should have slammed their brakes. Why were you following them so close? It's still on you. You see where I'm going with this? Go.
If you haven't thought about the things that could go wrong, you will be at the mercy of circumstances.
Come on.
Fear,
Come on.
anger, panic. When emotion consumes you, reason leaves you. You just react.
So if you're not predicting what could possibly happen to you, and you're not designing your thinking to prepare for the unknown, read that start from it makes you prepared. Okay, go from it makes you prepared.
It makes you prepared. If you haven't thought about the things that could go,
So you ain't thought about shit that can go wrong. You just, faithful, magical thinking ass. Go ahead.
you will be at the mercy of circumstances.
So now when shit happens, my life just changed because these circumstances changed. No, they didn't. Life changed because you don't know how to think yet. Go ahead.
Fear, anger, panic.
So when you're fearing or panic, what are you doing? Making choices. No more decisions, right? You're back into the loop. Keep going.
When emotion consumes you, reason leaves you. You just react.
You're just a choice-making animal because you didn't prepare. Is this some cold shit? Keep going, because I got a question. Come on, keep going. I'm thinking.
Failure comes from a failure to imagine failure.
Failure comes from the inability to imagine failure. Can you imagine failure? Can you imagine failure? If you imagine failure, you can start preparing yourself to prevent failure. But if the only thing you imagine is wins, successful, and happy moments in your life, think about you in a relationship with somebody and you don't imagine that person ever leaving you. You become the most laziest, foo-foo wearing, old-ass roll walking around the house. They ain't gonna go nowhere. Shit, they ain't. They already gone. But once you realize they can go, you start to serve your partner totally different. Because you realize, oh shit, this motherfucker be going any day now. Take it for granted if I won't. Nah, girl, ain't go to no goddamn concerts. Fuck you. I'm going with my boys to the basketball game. Why ain't she ain't came home yet? Next slide. I think this is the last slide, right? Shit. Tell me I ain't joking. Tell me I ain't playing with y'all. I ain't scared of none of you mothers. Okay, go ahead. That's how many slides we go through today? Roughly.
27.
Was 27?
Yeah.
Shit. Show them guns. Hey, look here. When Court come out and be like this, what's up, Court? Anyway, go ahead. Go, let's do this. Come on.
Second level thinking, then what? When you solve a problem, you make a change in the world. That change can be either in line with your long-term objectives or not.
This is second level. This is why second level thinking is so important. You always ask yourself, if I solve this problem, then what? If I make this choice, then what? And be very clear that almost every choice has a cost. Never make a choice assume there's no cost to any choice you make. Then what? Okay, imagine you want to date somebody and you spend money to get them to come out. Do you want to keep that going? So then don't do it. Imagine you get excited, like, you know what, I'm going to let you know, guys, I just put this new building. I see you trying to become successful in business. Once you come into my office and work for free, then what? What happens when she gets there and she starts to suspect, well, why don't you do this for me for free? And then now she's making money and she doesn't want to contribute because you told her she's entitled. As opposed to like, hey, Kaja, I want to charge you this. And then as you grow, these are the pain points and economic points that you'll be a part that expected to pay into. But if you choose to leave, that's cool too. But this was an incubator, but you did pay into the process. Also, what about when she loses her key and you got to keep paying for all the replacements, all the damage she's doing that you invested? Did you think about that? Then what? Did you think about any of the then whats? Or did you just start from your heart of, but it feels so good. And I'm just helping black people. And it's just so important. And now you broke because you didn't think about then what? Keep going.
Damn. For example, if you're hungry and you eat a chocolate bar, you've solved the immediate hunger problem, but that solution has consequences. The inevitable sugar crash an hour or two later.
Mm-hmm.
If your longer-term goal is to be productive that afternoon, the chocolate bar is not the best solution to your immediate problem.
Mm-mm.
It's true that eating a chocolate bar once won't ruin your diet or your day, but repeating that seemingly small error in judgment daily.
Small error. Eating chocolate bars every day, small. That's a small ass error. Then all the food you eat, you just eat one chocolate bar a day. Little motherfucking chocolate bar. That's it. Huh? But keep going. But repeating,
Over the course of your lifetime will not put you in a position for success.
Mm-mm.
Tiny choices compound.
Tiny choices compound. Tiny choices.
That's,
They don't need to be like, because a lot of times we only respond to the big shit. And tiny shit, be like, you're being over analytical. When you meet real entrepreneurs, they see tiny shit just as important as big shit. But some of y'all only wait for like, when I get fat, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna start. No, control your shit now because there's other shit that goes along with that. That once it gets to a certain point, that reverse is hard as fuck. When I started working out during early COVID, and I was like 2 years of not really training accurately, and I got back with Silence and them and started training. I went through 2 years of serious pain. I'm talking about every day when I went home, I had to take a leave because my body was, my joints, everything was hurting. I had to go find vitamins that would help me with my joints because I let my body go so much that when I had to reverse it, it almost felt like a journey I was never going to get to the end. Now, like I can go to the gym and I'm doing crazy. I do 3 days of cardio and 3 days of weightlifting. So I work out 6 days a week, right? And actually I do 3 days of weightlifting and 4 days of cardio. So I double up on Fridays. I hit the weights and then I go run the tracks on Friday night, right? My knees was killing me at first. My back, my whole inner groin area was like, something's falling apart. And I don't know what it is. I even called a doctor one time and say, hey, is there something going on that I don't know about? Like, do I have some internal cancer or something? Because this is too much pain. She says, no, it's just you going through this process. Okay, cool. My brain kept telling me, stop. You crazy. You're going to kill yourself, injure yourself, going to fuck around, be in a wheelchair. And I just kept going. Now you see me out there, it's nothing. Ride 40 miles on my bike a week, run 4 more miles, and then turn around and hit weights for like about 6 hours, 7 hours a week. And there's nothing for me. And I don't feel no pain. Matter of fact, my workout's getting easier. I had to increase all the weight on everything I'm doing. I'm bench pressing 315 10 times. I got squat 315 to the floor. I had a whole bunch of cats my age, which brought me back into reality. So I'm squatting. But I'm always looking at the young dudes. I'm like, yo, that motherfucker in front of me. I'm going to catch his ass. I forget. I'm almost twice his age. But in my brain, I'm thinking, fuck that. You ain't going to beat me. My daughter's a competitor. That's where she get it from me. So, one of those moments was like, damn, my daughter's like that. So I'm at the gym, and a group of brothers who surrounded me, they just start talking to me while I was training. They're all my age, 56, 57, 55, 52. They all talking to me. They're like, you can still squat like that? I'm like, yeah. Shit, that shit amazing. Shit. I don't know how the fuck you doing that. How the fuck you go all the way down and come back up? That's like, and it just hit me like, oh shit. But that 2 years of reverse, most people never make it through that. And I would suggest don't go that far if you do. Because if you do, it's a hard turnaround. Now, when you're young, that turnaround is like, it's a pivot, like a dance move. Turn around. Turn back. Now go back. One time. Right? That's what it is when you're young. When you're older, it's like a political discussion. Okay, we're going to have to vote on this shit. Oh my God, we're going to move a lot of resources. We're going to have to kill some kids. Or somehow we're going to turn something around. Like, it's that bad. It's that fucking bad. So I just let you know, it ain't the same thing. So tiny shit does add up. In your business, tiny shit will cost you hell of money. You'll be paying interest rate that will blow your fucking mind to do some tiny shit. Take out a credit card. Go use your credit card right now. Do you know motherfucking Macy's credit card interest rate is 34%? My wife, she keeps her Macy's credit card because she always like to get the discounts. And we don't have no debt. Me and my wife have zero debt. She opened up that package that you know you car renewal, and I don't never use it. They just cancel my card. You don't even use this shit. And she read the numbers because my wife likes to look at the numbers. It said 34 motherfucking percent. We both had to grab our chests like, oh my Lord, how do people survive? Tiny bad decisions. You running your business, keep neglecting those small decisions. And one of these days they're gonna compound and you can't carry that weight no more. Keep going.
That's why second level thinking is needed. Inside us all, there is a competition between our today self and our future self. Our future self often wants us to make different choices than our today self wants to make. While today you cares about winning the present moment.
This is why, so real quick, the future self and the future self and present, they always at war, right? When you need to be right, you're making sure that the present self always wins the argument over the future self. That's why person always like, that's why when I see these people on, like, there's a dude that is online talking about business, he has the millionaire program, whatever it is, and he's always right. He has to always be right. I can't trust you. Because that means that what you're telling me is that you don't have control of long-term decision making. You're a short-term decision maker. Because a real decision maker he or she has no problem surrendering being right in the moment. Have zero. They can pivot from being right in a minute, like, oh damn, I didn't know that. Give me more insights. But when somebody like, well, no, yeah, I hear you, but let me tell you what I'm trying to say. You're trash. Keep going.
Each of these personalities offers a different perspective on problems. Our future self sees the benefits or consequences of the accumulation of our seemingly insignificant choices.
Read that one more time. This is the last sentence, and I'm going to ask y'all a question.
Our future self sees the benefits or consequences of the accumulation of our seemingly insignificant.
This brings it 360. So if you learn to master to be able to sit with your future self, it will start to audit the choices, decisions you're making, because you realize you're not protecting us long term. You're solving a problem right now, but you ain't thought about tomorrow at all. What the fuck wrong with you? You got to literally have that conversation with yourself. How do you get to the point where you say, today's decision is not the best interest of me? And stop getting emotionally, and know that you're being emotionally hijacked, your ego's being hijacked by you getting accolades from making poor choices. Learn to step back from the accolades and get bored with them. Get bored with them. Get tired of it. You realize, if I say great job, what the fuck does that mean? What the fuck is that great? If you're hungry right now and I say, you're amazing, did your stomach stop rumbling? Learn to separate. That's a harsh reality thing. Learn to separate that feeling from the reality you exist in. If I say I love you, does that mean I still took care of you? Separate those two. Separate the emotional feeling from the harsh reality you deal with, and then you start to see the plays. Also, you'll see the opposite. You'll know when somebody actually loves you because they did, even though they never said they loved you. You'll see the play. But you'll never see the play if all you need is just words. Good job, Shabisha. Oh, I feel so valued in my company. Why the fuck you feel valuable? Why? Why the fuck you valuable? What have you done? Because, not a knowledge that he sees me. Okay, but after I see you, I pay you $30,000 a year. What the fuck is that? I see your broke ass. Fuck. Now we have this class. Think about that problem you wrote down. Look at that problem you wrote down. Did anything shift? You don't have to tell me what the problem is, but just you want to share like any shifts? Tell online if they want to write down any of their shifts, it's fine. And please, like, I don't need to hear your problem. Like, if you don't want to share your problem, trust me, there's no pressure on that. But just you can share this, like, highlight how you're thinking or something shifted in your view or your analysis of how you're looking at your problem. Was it really a decision you were trying to make, or was it a choice? Are you here because something has been compounding and you've been neglecting it, or is it something that you just been undermanaging because you were making poor choices in the past? Because at this point, you don't get to blame nobody. Go ahead.
I don't mind sharing. Mine was having issues with my team submitting like timesheets, like accuracy. And I was actually attempting to solve this before I came in, and I was looking at softwares and check-ins and stuff like that because it's manual. So in my first order, I was like, oh, let's just automate it, make it more newer so that they don't have to analog go into the computer, submit a sheet, and do the thing. And I realized that I was making a choice of just what's the easiest, fastest, quickest way to plug things in. And now I kind of want to pull everybody in and first figure out on an individual basis why there's problems with the process, and then get a team input, because otherwise it's just going to be another rule Shakina put in place to be rigid. And
it won't even be rigidity, it'll be failed policies, which means failed outcomes, which means you're underperforming, undercompeting, right? Like imagine you have a basketball team. Everybody knows what it takes to win a game, right? Score points. But no one really executes plays, because the plays, you got the point guard trying to play center and the center trying to bring the ball down. And you're like, I hate this shit. The ball travels that far, and that little short dude steals it from me all the time. Right? And then the small dude, he's trying to post up, and he didn't do never moves. And then every time he turns around, the dude just slaps the ball and says, I hate this shit. Put him in a position for them to be successful, and all of a sudden the point guard comes alive. And the center becomes alive. But when you don't understand how to position them because you really did find the problem, in the day we're not scoring. In the day, the number one goal of this game is to score and reduce their ability to score. So what are we doing as compromising that? Let's start from there. And then it's going to become real complex once we grow into it, because at the point you can't run one play. You have to have multiple plays, because as they adapt, you got to be able to adjust. What has to be true for us to win, right? And so as you ask these basic-ass questions that we went to this class, you'll realize I'm giving you tools to design really good solutions. So if you brought everybody in and said, okay, let's just, without any accusations, here's the problem, no one's signing in. Okay, what do you know? Can you give me a reason why people are not signing in? And it doesn't have to be you, just your assumption, but it has to be something different than somebody else would present to me. And let's take a pause. And then you say, okay, we come back. Here are these a list of reasons why we're not signing in. What do we think the solution would be to improve this if this is the outcome I'm seeking to serve? You see what happens? And now you're working on a real outcome, and then you realize the first solution is what? A hypothesis. And you have to test it, tweak it, adjust it, get it right, move on to the next. Test it, tweak it, just get it right, move on to the next. And sometimes it requires for you to make sure as you talk about this problem, you don't put them in this, they don't care, they're not doing what they're supposed to do, they lazy. Don't use those low shortcoming. It just might be a poor design. It might be too much. It might be some shit that they can actually have that's automated, that why the fuck are we filling this out when this shit's automated? It might be something really simple. Hey, at the end of the day, there's 6, 4, 5, 8. Whatever hours you work, drop it in your box. See you tomorrow. But you don't know what that is because whatever you're thinking, you're trying to project your ethics, your work, your practices, your defaults on them, meaning that you're underserving the employees you're trying to serve. Anybody else? Take 2 more before we walk out of here. Because I'm out of here. All right, don't come to me after class about your goddamn problems. I promise you. Okay, go ahead. Because I'm the coldest cat in the after class.
Okay.
I'm going to eat a sandwich in front of you.
Ooh, all right. For me, it was just really eye-opening. I wrote a bunch of stuff down because I was recognizing where I may have been taking action instead of being progressive, or all the things that I was doing or thought I was doing in my role was really just making choices and not decisions. So for me, there were like these aha moments where we've had previous conversation. I go, I think that's what he was meaning or referring to or what have you. But I just felt like it was really, really empowering because it identified. Like sometimes I feel like we can do things and not know that we're doing them because we don't know what they're called, or we don't know how to identify it, and we don't have anything to compare it to. So for me, that was extremely empowering because it was just these things that I'm like, oh, okay. And to be able to identify it and know that there's optionality there. I don't have to be always taking action, doing. I can actually give myself the time to think so that, yeah, I can come and go, yeah, I did it, done, right? But how much more impactful could I be if I take a step back instead of doing the quick thing and come back with something else that might be more innovative or more long-term or lasting and all that. So anyways, that's what I wanted to lend to the conversation. I
love the word you used was empowering. Hopefully you guys see how I gave you your power back. Because a lot of times when you're blaming everybody else, you feel like somebody's taking power from you. You realize that the outcome of your life is really in your control. Like this is not some magical trick that you don't grow because some magic happens. It's knowing how to like navigate the world you're in. And if you've been navigating based upon some old practices that never really worked for the people before you, but you just kind of pass it down. Like a lot of teachers who ain't got their life together try to give life advice to kids to be killing me. You need to do this to be successful. I'm sorry, did you not try it yourself? Because why are you here? And most times it's not because I love kids and this is what I really want to do. Let's be honest. A lot of them is like, you didn't work over here, huh? Well, okay, you're not doing what you really want to do. So now you're in this 4th grade class with me telling me how to be a good student. A lot of work. And it's not, there's some great teachers out there. Great. Unfortunately, we've been flooded with a lot of bad teachers in our communities, but there's some great teachers out there. But a lot of times teachers go a little bit too far because they haven't really clearly identified who they're talking to when they're teaching. If I'm talking to a black child in East Oakland, don't talk to them the same way you would talk to a child in Burlingame. Like it's not the same challenges they have. This black kid is living with a poor infrastructure. The other kid has a well-developed infrastructure. So the double Dutch game is different. This kid needs to build the ropes, and this kid just needs to jump in. So let's be very clear. And so then you know how, hey, if we're not teaching certain values and certain ethics, it's like right now, like white folks start watching, they start having this hard problem with, the Democratic-Republican friction, right? So one of the things that's been instituted in a lot of white schools is they start re-implementing civics, which was also an idea that came from early founding fathers, Lincoln, all them cats talked about the importance of teaching civics, because then if people don't understand the context of where they live as opposed to where other places is or what the history's been like, then they really won't appreciate where they are right now and what it takes to keep that shit running, right? Think about when Kennedy said, ask not what the government could do for you, but ask what you can do for the nation. Poorly paraphrased. Think about that civic communication to the communication we hear today, right? Now think about black people and our civic responsibility. Does anybody ever teach us civics? Like civics, how do you take care of the city that you live in, the space that you exist in? How in the fuck are you throwing trash out your car? How in the fuck are you burning creating all this damage in neighborhoods and how is it to the point that you have trapped your kids in the house? And then we continue to go, 1 + 1 is what? 2 plus 2 is what? Oh my God, you're gonna pass. No, you didn't. No, the fuck you didn't. But in the end, we all follow a single idea when we don't have a single society. We talk about diversity, but we don't move in diversity. This shit's craziest shit in the world. And once again, I don't want any teacher out there that's listening to me, Scott Cody, I don't want any teacher to feel like they're being attacked. Because a lot of times, it's not, like I showed this class, it's not about your individual intelligence. Everybody within the sound of my voice is extremely intelligent. It's just having problem clarity, problem ownership. Once you do that, shit changes way faster. One of the reasons a lot of work goes into these, like, y'all ever see how much money go to OUSD? A lot of fucking money goes to OUSD. OUSD, it ain't like they get like $10,000 a year. They get a lot of, I'm sure somebody can pull the numbers and be like, God damn, they can make a lot. But the problem is that you're not clearly defining the problem. So a lot of people are putting a lot of energy into symptoms. A lot of smart people are working on a lot of symptoms. In the end, as soon as they finish digging that hole, more dirt. As soon as they go home, it's full again from the dirt that's gonna fall back on because you only solve the symptoms, not the problem. Go ahead, Scott.
Make sure my mic's up. For the problem I was thinking about at the beginning, I realized the two big issues that I had is I let scarcity hijack me, and I didn't qualify the decision well enough, so I didn't weight it good enough, and it became like a path dependency or a lock-in thing, a long-term problem that I should have just dealt, something that you do really well, dealt with it at the beginning and been like, look, this shit is not going to go in this direction. And the other thing I think I didn't do well was preserve my optionality or move in a space to keep my options as viable as possible. So, yeah.
And it's key because that's once you start seeing those patterns, like he just acknowledged, you start seeing other patterns where you're doing in your life, and you realize how your life's getting out of control because you're just neglecting. You're making choices. You're making a choice not to deal with it. You're making a choice to avoid it. You're making a choice like it's just too much. I'm just too busy to deal with this. You're making a choice to stay busy. Like that's how cold this shit is. So I hope for this class really challenge your thoughts around problems and decision making at its core. I didn't give you all the tools, but I gave you the core basis of how you have to even frame the process of how to engage problems. And if you just look at all your problems, go back through this class until you really get it. It's in the book, Clear Thinking. Start from the chapter that talks about mistakes and just move forward. And if you just study this until you can really process this, after a while you realize, oh, here are all the ways that I'm fucking up my own life. I'm shitting where I'm eating. I'm wondering why the food tastes bad. And it's not the world. It's not. Look, once you accept the world as the way it is, I think you know what kills me when young people do this all the time. The world should be like this. When was this? When does this happen? What the fuck are you talking about? The world's never been purely peaceful at all times for all humans. What the fuck are you talking about? Human beings have always been fighting for resources. What the fuck are you talking about? Human beings are in competition all the time. What the fuck you mean you would just sit in the grass and nobody should bother you? You know who owns the grass? Fuck wrong with you? But once you accept reality, you get calm. You go, oh, this is how shit really works. Politics. No politician can focus on Martin Luther King did something that is dangerous but good. And Lincoln talked about this. He said, a good idea, I'm going to paraphrase it, but it's horrible. A good idea that doesn't tie into the overall system, that like goes bucks the system, could be a good idea for me and Shabisha, but the gamers would get the idea and take it somewhere else. Right? So we always say we want freedom because we had a certain idea, but we don't legislate the idea and build it as a system, and we just take a single idea that sounds good, but he or she doesn't realize emergence. Once that idea is spoken in public, it can emerge into something that gamers or other people who don't necessarily agree with you. So social justice started off with a lot of good ideas, but the gamers got it and said, "Oh, I can do this and I can do that, and it should be okay." And because I'm black, gay, or whatever, you don't touch me. I'm like you heard the feedback from the gay pride parade. Everybody who's ever been around Pride Parade in San Francisco knows it's a sexual parade. Right? A lot of gay events are sexual. But guess what? I can get canceled for saying that. Because it's make-believe fucking thinking. Meaning that if you want to go because you want to enjoy that, that's cool. That's what adults have the right to do. Don't take the fucking kids. Make some fucking sense out of this. Like it's just like, but what happens is, but there's people who had kids about. I was just shocked when this was happening in front of me. It's not them. It's you. They've been doing the same shit for quite some time, and then they turn around and there's a few spokespeople who try to game the game. This is why gay communities have friction, because they're like, I don't agree with that shit. Why does a kid get to go into a bar because you put a flag in the bar? It's not okay. There's somebody who's gaming the game. I mean, the person who originally had the idea was an innocent idea. Then when the idea is challenged, they go back to the original idea to defend the bad behavior that's over here, because that's what the gamer's doing. Lincoln talked about this shit back in the fucking 1800s. That he said that if the government fails the people will get so frustrated with the system that they start losing faith in the system. Then they will look for a tyrant, and a tyrant will destroy our system as we know it. At the end of the day, we must protect the people's belief in the system. Otherwise, the solution that people will go for, even though the tyrant will start off with good ideas, as the ideas take off, they emerge into something that becomes destructive to the society. This is why you have to read other shit besides Donald Goines. That all the older people was like, fuck you, that's cold, that's messed up. But all the young people are like, what is Donald Goines? Don't read it. So would that be
read other shit? Can you still read Donald Goines stuff?
I don't know. I can't. Donald Goines would make me throw up in my mouth. So anyway, with that being said, hopefully I disrupted your thinking. Watch this class over, read that section of the book. This is giving you power. If you learn to move like this, I promise you, this is the beginning of that real stoic shit. When you will start moving slower, thinking, talking different. If you pick up this habit, you will no longer, you're going to separate yourself from the masses. Because you won't be in as many arguments. You just let shit go by like, what am I win? I'm going to die in 30 years. What the fuck does this matter? You stole my dress. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can go change if you want me to. I don't know what this means. But when you call it magical thinking, well, I chose it first, and you can't tell me who I am. Whoa, you're not qualified. You're a choice master. Stop being a choice master. All right. With that being said, next week we're gonna get into diminishing returns and gap theory. No, I'm going to be short, so because I'm leaving to go to New York and Boston, so I'm gonna probably teach the first part of the class. So I'm gonna just talk about diminishing returns, which will show you how good decisions become bad. With that being said, I'm out. I ain't talking about nobody else. I'm out.